In my past life, I married my first love, Zhang Xiaofeng. I didn't ask for a car, a house, or a bride price. I even gave him the entire 30,000 yuan dowry my parents gave me to fund his business venture. I bore him twin sons and cared for his mother until her final days. By the time I was just past 40, my hair had turned completely silver, and my hands were as worn and aged as an old man's. Even so, I never uttered a single word of complaint. I continued to serve the three of them, my husband and sons, 3 meals a day, keeping the house in perfect order. This went on until I was diagnosed with cervical cancer from sheer exhaustion. My husband and sons unanimously decided to forego treatment. You have to understand our position. This illness is a bottomless pit, and the doctors say there's no cure. It's so clear. When they first found it, all I needed was a hysterectomy. I could have lived, it's obvious. Our family's financial situation isn't even that bad. I am utterly tormented by this pain and suffering. It was at that very moment I discovered Zhang Xiaofeng had another family. My own 2 sons were calling the woman of that house little mother. How could they do this to me? When I died, I was emaciated, nothing but skin and bones, without a single patch of unblemished skin on my body. Thankfully, the heavens were just, granting me a second chance at life, in this new life. I want nothing to do with Zhang Xiaofeng. And I certainly don't want those 2 useless sons of mine. Honey, you've met my buddy before. He's rock solid. He says if we invest 30 grand, we'll get 40 back in 3 months, principal and interest included. Then, we can buy a plot of land and build our house. Didn't you want a bungalow? That's exactly what we'll build. Darling, darling, my ears were ringing. In a daze, my eyes snapped wide open. The pain deep in my gut was excruciatingly real. Darling, can you hear me, honey? I snapped back to reality and abruptly stood up, the small half-basket of green beans on my lap scattered all over the floor, and I was still holding 2 long beans in my hand. Honey, what's wrong? I looked around. Is this that tiny little apartment we rented right after Zhang Xiaofeng and I got married? That's right. There's even the wedding portrait Zhang Xiaofeng drew for us, still hanging on the wall. We couldn't afford a proper photo shoot back then, so he said he'd just draw one for us. I remember thinking it was the most incredibly romantic thing ever. How did I get here? I thought I was dead, but I definitely died from that illness. Why am I here? And then I looked at the man in front of me, a younger version of Zhang Xiaofeng. I ignored the green beans on the floor, hurried over to the table, and picked up the mirror. My skin is smooth and supple. I'm not old yet. I looked at my hands again. They were delicate and fair. So, I've been reborn. I've been reborn in 1993. Honey, if it really comes to it, just think of it as a loan from you. I'll pay you back later. I looked at the man with the slicked back hair standing before me. How greasy and ridiculous. How did I never notice this before? Thankfully, I was reborn before Zhang Xiaofeng could borrow my 30,000 yuan dowry. If the heavens had been a little kinder, they would have sent me back before I married that scumbag. But this point in time isn't bad either. One shouldn't be too greedy. If I remember correctly, it's now the 3rd month of my marriage to Zhang Xiaofeng, and right now, I'm already carrying those 2 little rascals in my belly. Darling, darling, darling what? Stop calling my name like you're trying to summon a ghost, having lived a second life. I really have no patience left for Zhang Xiaofeng. I pushed Zhang Xiaofeng aside and threw the green beans in my hand onto the table. Honey, that project is really promising. Please lend me that 30,000. How about 20,000? Then, I shot him a glare. 10,000, just 10,000. I'll pay you back in 3 months. Humph, you still think you're getting 10,000? You're not getting a single cent out of me. It was the same in my past life. Zhang Xiaofeng wore me down with his pestering and ended up taking my 30,000 dowry. With that 30,000 yuan, Zhang Xiaofeng started his business from scratch. He even quit his job as an art teacher and went into the art dealing business. No, not even 10,000. I don't have a single cent. Li Xiaomei, what's gotten into you? We've only been married a few months, and you've already stopped loving me. Love my foot. Zhang Xiaofeng, cut the nonsense. If you're here for money, forget it. Alright, let's not talk about money for now. Let's make some food first. Mom's waiting at the hospital. Food? There's no food either. You take care of your own mother. Zhang Xiaofeng was furious. Fine. I guess this is just how it's going to be. With that, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Once the commotion outside had completely faded, I slumped to the floor, as if all the strength had been drained from my body. At this time in my past life, Zhang Xiaofeng had already taken that 30,000 yuan. After telling me, don't forget to take mom her meal, he walked out the door. and with that, he vanished for 2 whole months. He completely abandoned his own mother, who was still in the hospital and needed care, and left her to me. Well, in this life, I'm going to see about that. Without this 30 grand, he wouldn't dare just vanish on us. Without this 30 grand, how's he supposed to build anything from scratch? With that thought, I felt a surge of strength return to my body, steadying my nerves. I pushed myself up off the ground. Since we're here, we might as well make ourselves comfortable. Brushing the dirt from his clothes, he walked over to the kitchen stove. He reached inside, felt around, and pulled out a red brick. From behind it, he retrieved a red bank book wrapped in a black plastic bag. He opened it and took a look. Name, Lee Xiaomei. Balance, 30. 136, 15, just as I thought. Tucking the passbook inside my inner clothing, I hurriedly grabbed my keys and headed out the door. I rushed all the way back to my parents' house. I miss my mom and dad so much. I'd give anything to see them again. My parents were among the first wave of educated youth sent to the countryside. Later, they worked in a textile mill and a machinery factory, respectively. Due to the toll on their health from their early years, they took early retirement. In my past life, when I suffered a major hemorrhage during childbirth, my parents rushed to the hospital after receiving the call. They were killed in a car accident on the way, whispering my name with their last breaths. Not long after my parents passed away, Zhang Xiaofeng's mother brazenly moved into my parents' house. At the time, I was too consumed by grief to care about the inheritance, thinking we were still family in a way. Later, Zhang Xiaofeng told me that this house was the only thing my parents had left for me. In this life, there will be no child, no hemorrhaging, no car accident. I will protect my parents, who love me most. Stepping into the house, I saw Mom cooking in the kitchen, with Dad standing beside her, handing her plates. Watching this scene, my eyes welled up with tears. Dad, Mom, hearing the noise, the old couple turned around at the same time. Oh, our little one is back. The little foodie came running at the smell. Perfect timing. Dinner's almost ready. With that, Dad walked out of the kitchen carrying a plate and set it on the table. I looked up. What's wrong? Why are you crying? Did Xiaofeng upset you? I'll go give him a piece of my mind right now. I quickly rushed over and wrapped my arms tightly around my dad, who was about to head out the door. Just then, my mom came over too, with an arm around each of them. I finally let it all out and sobbed uncontrollably. All the pain and grievances from my past life came pouring out the moment I saw my parents alive and well. After crying for what felt like an age, I finally felt purged. Looking up at my 2 dearest loved ones, who were at a complete loss, I finally pulled myself together. Dad, Mom, I want a divorce. Sweetheart, what's wrong? You've only been married for 3 months. Mom, Dad, please trust me. Don't ask. Okay, I don't know how to tell them about the reincarnation thing. It's just too unbelievable. Besides, I don't want them to know how much their little girl suffered in her past life. After they were gone, let the secret of my rebirth remain mine and mine alone. As for my parents, I just want them to enjoy their golden years in peace. Alright, we won't pry. I know it must be that Zhang Xiaofeng. He's no good. He's not worthy of our little girl. I told you so. That Zhang Xiaofeng never looked reliable from the start. We couldn't stop you when you insisted on marrying him. Now that you want a divorce, we're behind you. A good woman isn't afraid to marry again. Even if you never remarry, your parents can support you for life. Alright, sweetheart. Just tell me what you need your dad to do. Mom and Dad processed the news in a matter of moments. Back then, I was captivated by Zhang Xiaofeng's handsome looks. I was also utterly charmed by his artist's aura. I turned my back on all those promising, capable young men and chose that good-for-nothing instead. That's what led to my tragic fate in my past life. In this life, I am determined to break free from him, from Zhang Xiaofeng. I took out the bank book and handed it to Dad. Dad, you should hold on to this bank book for now. Zhang Xiaofeng wants this money. If he comes looking for you, whatever you do, don't give him a single cent. Dad took the bank book. Don't you worry, sweetheart. That son of a bitch dares to mess with my daughter, over my dead body. I couldn't help but laugh at how fiercely Dad stood up for me. Looking into my parents' loving eyes, I was filled with emotion. It's truly wonderful to have a father's and mother's love. In my past life, my parents met a tragic end because of me. In this life, I'm determined to make sure my parents live to a ripe old age and live a good life. Therefore, I must nip that cause of my parents' demise in the bud. If I'm not mistaken, I'm already pregnant with those 2 good-for-nothing sons of mine, Zhang Jia and Zhang Kai. There's one more thing. Mom, could you come with me to the clinic this afternoon? Sweetheart, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? No, I think I might be pregnant. Pregnant? Well then, let's not worry about it just yet. We'll talk after the checkup this afternoon. What if, I still haven't gotten pregnant by this point in my life? In my past life, Zhang Xiaofeng vanished for 2 months right after he got the money. Zhang Xiaofeng's mother was bedridden in the hospital after a fall, so I had no choice but to take care of my mother-in-law day and night. I only found out I was pregnant after I collapsed by the hospital bed. If the timeline is correct, I should already be carrying a child right now, twins, in fact, and at that very moment, my so-called mother-in-law was also in the hospital. Oh, I refuse to call her mother-in-law anymore. From now on, it's just Lan Guifan. Lan Guifan was no easy person to deal with either. In her eyes, her son could do no wrong, even his crap smelled like roses. In my past life, even after bearing 2 sons, I never earned a single kind word from Lan Guifan. From the very first day I married Zhang Xiaofeng, I was the one cooking all the meals and washing all the clothes, and my accounting job at the garment factory was ruined by Lan Guifan's meddling. Lan Guifan believes a woman's place is in the home, tending to her husband and raising children. Once you marry into the Zhang family, your duty is to serve me and my 3 menfolk properly. Don't think giving birth to 2 sons makes you some kind of hero for the Zhang family. Even without you, plenty of women would be lining up to have Xiaofeng's children. Still thinking about work. It's not proper for a woman to be out and about every day. I live under Lan Guifan's emotional manipulation every single day. On the other hand, there was the cozy world Zhang Xiaofeng was weaving for me. Darling, I can't bear to see you work so hard out there. You should just stay home and enjoy a life of ease. Honey, our son can't do without you, and neither can I, sweetheart. My mom had a tough time raising me all by herself, so it's no wonder she can be a bit short-tempered. Please try to be patient with her, and try to understand where I'm coming from too, darling. Once I start making real money, I'll buy you a proper house. Honey, in my past life, I endured the constant venom of Lan Guifan and Zhang Xiaofeng, only to be betrayed later by my own ungrateful sons, Zhang Jia and Zhang Kai. I quit my job, spending every day at home catering to the elderly, looking after the children, and dealing with that repulsive man-child, Zhang Xiaofeng. In my previous life, after this fall, Lan Guifan never got out of bed again. I bathed her, cleaned her, helped her turn over, and gave her massages every single day. It actually kept her alive for 10 more years. She didn't have a single bedsore on her when she passed, yet, I've aged more than 10 years beyond my peers. Even so, Lan Guifan gave me a hard look every single day. I was like a puppet on a string, manipulated at will, with no thought of resistance. In the end, I met such a wretched fate. It makes my blood boil with hatred. In this life, I'm going to see for myself. Without me, how long do you think Lan Guifan has left to live? After lunch, I went with my mom to the clinic for a checkup. Li Xiaomei, you're next. Doctor, how is she? Is my daughter alright? My mother spoke before I could. It's alright, ma'am, don't worry, your daughter is pregnant. Oh, and it's twins. Congratulations, doctor. I don't want to keep this pregnancy. Please schedule the procedure for me. On the way back from the hospital to my parents' house, Mom kept sighing the entire time. A sudden wave of guilt washed over me. I shouldn't have made Mom and Dad worry about me like this. I had barely stepped through the door when Zhang Xiaofeng showed up. Honey, is it true you're pregnant? Old Lu from the clinic said it's twins. Why didn't you tell me sooner? If old Lu hadn't mentioned seeing you, I'd still be in the dark. Before I could even get a word out, my father stepped forward and shielded me. Well, Zhang Xiaofeng, I haven't even gone looking for you, and here you are showing up on my doorstep. I quickly shot my parents a look, stopping them from saying anything more. Just as I expected, my parents understood me perfectly. They immediately swallowed whatever they were about to say next. Yes, I'm pregnant. I just haven't had a chance to tell you yet. Zhang Xiaofeng's face immediately lit up with a grin. He leaned in and whispered, Old Lu says they're 2 boys. Humph, it's just as well he knows. He thought about the plan that lay ahead. A cold sneer formed in my heart. Darling, now that I'm expecting, I really need to focus on nourishing my body. I'll be staying at my parents' place for a while so they can take good care of me. But as a married daughter, I can't just live at home without contributing. Alright then, let's start with you giving me 500 for living expenses. We've been married for 3 months, and his family, the Zhangs, haven't paid a single cent in bride price. Yet, that Zhang Xiaofeng has already managed to swindle 500 yuan out of me. Honey, where am I supposed to get that kind of money? You don't have it. Then forget about keeping the baby. We'll go get our divorce papers sorted out right after this. Whoa, hold on. 500, right, fine, I just got paid. and I was going to give it to you to hold on to anyway." As he said this, he pulled out a crumpled wad of cash from his trouser pocket. He was just about to count out 500. I snatched it from him and counted it myself. 735, perfect. I even paid the 250 yuan deposit for your mother's hospital stay. You're still 15 short, but forget it, I'll let it go. This amount will do. Zhang Xiaofeng cowered, not daring to utter another word. TSK, who knew Zhang Xiaofeng was such a coward all along. Alright, you can head back for now. Honey, about my mom. She really needs someone to look after her lately. What do you think, Zhang Xiaofeng? My daughter is pregnant, and you want her to go take care of your mother. This time, I didn't even have to say a word. My mom shot back for me. No, Mom, that's not what I meant. Good, that's a relief. Alright, off you go. Don't keep your mother waiting. With that, my dad ushered the person out and closed the door. Right now, there are two most pressing matters. The first is to deal with these two little troublemakers. I've already written off that useless lump Zhang Xiaofeng. As for these two little traitors who stabbed me in the back in my past life, I absolutely will not keep them around. In this second chance at life, I refuse to be a naive do-gooder, and don't you dare lecture me about innocent lives. If they're innocent, then what does that make me? Deserving of death, my body, my choice. These two pieces of char siu are easy enough to deal with. The other thing is to divorce Zhang Xiaofeng, in my past life. He and Lan Guifan were dead set on taking everything from our family, so, getting a divorce probably won't be that easy. Whatever, I'll just take it one step at a time. Soon, the scheduled time for the surgery arrived. This time, Mom and Dad were with me, walking towards another possibility in my life. The surgery went smoothly, without any complications. This time, there was no massive hemorrhage, no car accident. I feel completely at peace about whether this choice was right or wrong. The mother-son bond between me, Zhang Jia, and Zhang Kai had already been utterly severed in my previous life, worn away by the endless days and nights of suffering. In this life, I hope they can be reborn into a different family. May the love and warmth of that home guide them to live a good and honest life. By the time Zhang Xiaofeng got the news, I had already been home for 3 days, recovering from my miscarriage. Sure enough, he came storming over in a rage and started pounding on the door. I wasn't afraid of him in the slightest. The door opened. "Li Xiaomei, how could you? This is our son. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't harm its own cubs. Why on earth would you do this? Seriously, why is that? After all, in this life and at this moment, he hasn't had the chance to do anything that truly hurt me yet. But I'm not the law. Do I have to wait for irreversible harm before I can judge him? As far as I'm concerned, he's guilty based on his past life alone." I let out a cold snort. "How dare you even ask me why? What do you think you've done? Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Do I really have to bring that Louis person here to confront you before you'll admit it? You have no idea. When I heard the news, I was so distraught that I lost the baby. I was just about to come and settle the score with you, and here you are, coming to me first, you heartless thing. After all the love I've given you, this is how you treat me." Hearing the name Louis, Zhang Xiaofeng felt a pang of guilt. How could he not feel guilty? In my past life, it wasn't until I was on my deathbed that I discovered he had another family on the side, and my 2 sons called that woman, Louis, their stepmother. Even across 2 lifetimes, all I ever learned was that this Louis was also a teacher at the school where Zhang Xiaofeng currently works. Zhang Xiaofeng taught art, and Louis taught music. Honestly, I have no idea when they got together, so I was just trying to bluff him with that comment. To my surprise, the bluff actually worked. That year, the country had just introduced the Quality Education Initiative. Zhang Xiaofeng, the art teacher, and Louis, the music teacher, were considered the school's golden couple. Judging by Zhang Xiaofeng's reaction right now, it's definitely true. He really cheated on me just 3 months after we got married. It might have been even earlier than that. Did he start seeing her before we were even married? Wait, in my past life, Zhang Xiaofeng disappeared for 2 months after getting the money. He couldn't have vanished with that female teacher, could he? He took my dowry to go have a good time with another woman. At that thought, my tears flowed even more bitterly. Zhang Xiaofeng, look at yourself. How could you do this to me? I want a divorce, and to think I trusted you so much. I even married you without asking for a bride price. How could you do this to me? Sigh. Part of me hopes Zhang Xiaofeng will just agree to the divorce without a fuss, so I can finally break free from this cage. On the other hand, all those memories from my past life made me reluctant to let him off the hook so easily. Honey, don't listen to those rumors from outsiders. None of it's true. You know how I feel about you, don't you? Really? And what guarantee can you give me? I'll give you alright then, put the small 2-bedroom in Eugene Garden under my name, consider it making up for the bride price you never gave me, honey, about that apartment, you don't agree? Then let's go file for divorce right now. We can have it done before the end of the workday. Zhang Xiaofeng's eyes darted around. He must have realized that my family's estate, with no male heir to inherit it, was far more valuable than his little 2-bedroom, after all the trouble he went through to win me over. There's no way he'd just up and get a divorce. Alright, dear, I'll do as you say. I truly haven't wronged you, and I never will. Okay, I believe you. And just like that, the property deed was successfully transferred into my name, after finishing the transfer. I thought it over carefully. The current Zhang Xiaofeng has nothing left for me to squeeze dry. In my past life, Zhang Xiaofeng was truly penniless and destitute at this point. The reason he managed to make his fortune later, even keeping a secret family from me for so many years, was partly due to the 30,000 yuan dowry money I gave him. The other part, I have no idea. And as for the future Zhang Xiaofeng, he will only be ground into the dust beneath my heel. After mulling over all these convoluted thoughts, immediately after, an anonymous tip-off letter was sent to the Education Bureau. For the next 2 weeks, Zhang Xiaofeng's household was thrown into utter chaos. Lan Guifan was discharged from the hospital and returned home. The apartment at Royal View Garden is still under renovation, so we couldn't move in, and there's no one in the countryside to look after her. The only option was to go back to that so-called marital home Zhang Xiaofeng and I had rented. Ever since I woke up from my rebirth and took the bank book from that place, I haven't set foot in that house again. There's nothing left in there that I want anymore. We hadn't been married long, so I didn't have many things of my own, and I didn't want them anyway. After Lan Guifan was discharged from the hospital and returned home, Zhang Xiaofeng came to my door several times, begging me to go back and take care of his elderly mother. I turned him away each time with one excuse or another. I haven't even finished my postpartum confinement yet. If I go back, who's going to take care of whom? Am I supposed to look after her? Or are you going to look after both me and your mother? Your mother has never liked me. What if I end up making her so upset she gets sick? My mother's back trouble has flared up again recently. I really need to look after her. After that, Zhang Xiaofeng stopped coming around, because someone had moved into that shabby little rental. Louis, that anonymous letter did the trick. Gossip about the two of them suddenly started swirling around the school. The school, under pressure from higher-ups, expelled Louis. Of course, it's always the woman who gets hurt. Why weren't they both expelled? Or, why wasn't it Zhang Xiaofeng who got expelled? But this Louis is no innocent party, with her reputation ruined and her job gone. She wasn't about to let Zhang Xiaofeng off the hook, so she just moved right into Zhang Xiaofeng's place. A classic case of throwing caution to the wind. I heard the news, and it was like a bolt from the blue. What a wonderful turn of events. It's like being handed a pillow when you're sleepy, or Louis handing you a ladder when you want a divorce. Just what I needed, right then and there. I called all my cousins from back home. Every single one of them. A whole crowd of people had gathered, blocking the entrance to the tiny rented apartment. Zhang Xiaofeng, I want a divorce. That little homewrecker is living in our house now. Today, we're getting a divorce, no matter what. Honey, please, just let me explain. Alright then, go on, tell me. I'm all ears. Come on, everyone, neighbors, gather round and hear what this scumbag has to say for himself to my sister. No, brother, all of you, I'll leave, I'm out of here. Ugh. There's no way Zhang Xiaofeng would want a scandal like this getting out. He cares about his reputation more than anything. We spent decades together in a past life. I know exactly how to handle him. The crowd shuffled out noisily, while from inside the house came Lan Guifan's muffled, grumbling words. Zhang Xiaofeng, surrounded in the middle, couldn't hear clearly, but I, walking at the very back, caught every word. Xiaofeng, you mustn't get a divorce. Xiaofeng, I'm still sick. Who's going to look after me if we get divorced? Xiaofeng, at least get the house back first. Then we can talk about divorce. Humph, you still want the house? Not a chance. Consider this house as compensation for my past life. With pressure from these brothers and Zhang Xiaofeng being the one at fault, the divorce went smoothly. The house had already been voluntarily transferred to my name. Back then, there was no such thing as the concept of marital joint property. I got the divorce certificate that very day. Holding the divorce certificate, I let out a long, deep sigh of relief. I was finally free from Zhang Xiaofeng and his family in the eyes of the law. After the divorce, Zhang Xiaofeng came looking for me a few more times. I couldn't be bothered to humor him anymore. I want nothing more to do with that person. Given a second chance at life, I have far too much to accomplish, but what I want to do most is study. In my previous life, after I resigned from my accounting job at the garment factory, I withdrew from society completely. I yearn for a different kind of life in this lifetime. Even with a second chance at life, to achieve something truly your own, you must first enrich yourself. So, the first thing that came to my mind was to study. When I told my parents about my idea, they were very supportive. I wanted to go to Shanghai, and my parents resolutely sold off their fixed assets to move there and accompany me while I studied. That single act of selling redefined my understanding of just how shameless Zhang Xiaofeng could be. In my previous life, consumed by the grief of my parents' death in a car accident, I didn't pay much attention to the inheritance they left me. Afterwards, Zhang Xiaofeng only told me that the house we were currently living in was all that remained. That's why I never doubted it. But now, when my parents produced the deeds for 6 apartments and 5 shops, I was completely stunned. No wonder Zhang Xiaofeng was able to get his art business off the ground so quickly in my past life. So that's it, he swallowed up such a huge sum of my family's money. So they really were after the family fortune all along. Thankfully, in this life, my parents are safe and sound. That Zhang Xiaofeng has nothing to do with my family anymore. In my previous life, this little city I'm in now hadn't developed much even by the time I died. So, I convinced my parents to sell all of our residential properties. As for the commercial properties, I took a look and saw they were all in prime locations that would remain central for the next 20 years. It would have been a shame to sell them. Therefore, we kept all the commercial properties. Consequently, 1 year after my rebirth, I sold 7 apartments, 6 that belonged to my parents and 1 that Zhang Xiaofeng had transferred to me, for a total of 180,000. This includes my parents' 80,000 yuan in savings and the 30,000 yuan dowry they gave me. That brings the total to 290,000 yuan. In 1994, I moved to Shanghai with my parents. That same year, following my advice, they bought 10 mu of land in Pudong for 200,000 yuan. With the remaining money, I took out a mortgage and bought an apartment on Nanjing East Road in Huangpu District to have a place to call home. I retook the National College entrance exam and was admitted to Fudan University to study computer science. In 1999, I graduated with my bachelor's degree and continued on to a combined master's and doctoral program in computer science and economics. I sold the plot of land in Pudong for 2 million yuan. That same year, I made a special trip to Hangzhou, tracked down that young fellow named Jack Ma, and invested 500,000 yuan in him. With the remaining money, I told my dad to take some trips to Beijing and Shenzhen whenever he had time, do nothing else, just buy property. I next heard news about Zhang Xiaofeng when I asked my cousin to handle the family shop back in my hometown. I heard that Lan Guifan passed away the year after we left our hometown. Word is, Zhang Xiaofeng ended up quitting his job too, and went into the art business. But this time, without substantial capital to back him up, he got stuck with the inventory and couldn't secure any more operating funds. I heard that his mistress, the one named Lu Yi, couldn't handle the long-term care of the bedridden Lan Guifan. She ran off with an out-of-town contractor even before Lan Guifan died. Hearing the name Zhang Xiaofeng again felt like recalling a lifetime ago. My heart remained utterly still. Now, I am married with children. My husband is a university professor, and we have a daughter who is sweet and well-behaved. I quietly pursue my research at the Economics Institute. In my free time, I spend time with my parents. Get regular health checkups to avoid suffering from the same illnesses that plagued my past life. Having been given a second chance at life, I am no longer afraid of marriage, even though all the pain in my previous life was brought on by marriage, because in this life, I am the master of my own fate. I just never expected, after 20 years, I would see Zhang Xiaofeng again. My subordinate, Xiao Chen, knocked on the door to tell me someone was waiting for me downstairs. I've recently taken on a project about domestic economic trends, and quite a few people have come to discuss it with me. I went downstairs. In the distance, I saw a stooped figure with a head of white hair. Forgive me, I truly didn't recognize that person as Zhang Xiaofeng. He looked at me, tears streaming down his face. He just kept repeating I'm sorry. I turned and walked away. Why bother with someone who's no concern of mine? Later, I heard that Zhang Xiaofeng had no children, was plagued by illness, and died alone. To that, I only have 2 words, serves you right. Next, let's hear the next story. I've been married to my husband for over half a year, and we've only met 3 times. I went to visit my husband at his unit and mistook someone else for him. I grabbed the stranger's hand and said, "It's been so long. We really should start trying for a baby." The young man, terrified, ducked behind him and said, "Reporting, Captain, I'm innocent." "It was your wife who made the first move." He frowned, his expression stern. "I promised you freedom, but going to someone else for a child, isn't that taking it a bit too far?" From the time Guqing and I met until we got married 6 months later, we only saw each other 3 times. The first time was a dinner with both our families. I found him quite handsome and well put together, so I took the initiative to strike up a conversation. From start to finish, he only spoke 3 sentences, each carrying a faint air of seriousness and detachment. 1. My name is Guqing. I'm stationed in the eastern region. 2. I'm not much of a conversationalist. 3. Comrade Lin Xin. Be careful on your way home, comrade. That day, I ran off without even adding him on WeChat. The second time we met was to get our marriage license. His parents said he really liked me and kept talking about me at home. When it was time for photos, his back was ramrod straight, as serious as a soldier on parade. It was then I realized that even his marriage was just another box to tick. Financially independent, I play the field, a true angler in the sea of love. With his strict upbringing, he's far too rigid and by the book, which makes him rather unappealing. My parents hoped he would discipline me, while his parents hoped my energy would rub off on him. The result, we got married, but we just lived our separate lives. I still remember the night we got our marriage certificate, defying all logic. I decided to make a move on the handsome guy by barging in while he was showering. Next thing I knew, he had me pinned against the wall, the cold, wet tiles pressed against my face. He let go immediately, saying, "Sorry, I'm not used to this kind of closeness." But the mood was completely ruined. The most frustrating part was, when I turned back, he had already wrapped a towel around his waist. I didn't see a thing. The man guards against his own wife like she's a thief. I then left the bridal suite, went back to my own apartment, and called my best friend over to keep me company. "Lin Xin, you got married in secret. Let me see a picture of your husband." I pulled out my marriage certificate and tossed it into my best friend's lap. My friend gasped, "Holy shit, he's so handsome." "Then what are you doing here on your wedding night? Go get your man." I took a sip of my wine and chuckled. Have you ever seen a wedding suite decorated with portraits of famous people? I don't feel like I'm getting married. I feel like I'm going to class. The third time we met was to see him off. He was boarding a plane, under the watchful eyes of both sets of parents. With his ears turning red, he stammered out 5 words, "I'll miss you." The way he tried to flirt was awkwardly endearing, but I doubt he meant it. He was likely just putting on a show for his parents. For the next 6 months, we didn't see each other. He would send me a message every night and call once a week. But his tone was as dry as a work report. He transfers his salary to me every month. However, the transfer message read as follows: Report, this month's net salary is, amount, yuan, including subsidies, amount, yuan has been transferred to you. Guqing is requesting 200 yuan for a team dinner. Please approve if you agree. I replied with a 1. He said, please reply with approved. I was speechless. So if I don't approve, you're calling off the dinner. A minute later, I got a bank notification. He had transferred his last $200 to me. Unbelievable. Getting married once really opened my eyes. Do you think I'm after his money? I sent it all back, but he returned it, only keeping 200 for himself. The typing indicator lingered for a long time before a few more words appeared. Yesterday, I dreamt about you. My heart skipped a beat. I never thought he'd say something like that. So I asked, is your dad around? Him, how did you know? Ha, I knew it. Just putting on a show again. As time went on, my days grew increasingly empty. Looking at this vast family fortune, I actually started to wonder who would inherit it. Gradually, the idea of keeping the child but ditching the father even crossed my mind. Guqing is handsome, healthy. Our offspring would definitely be top-notch. Most importantly, given his temperament, I bet he wouldn't be able to stand me for more than 2 years before asking for a divorce. Then I'll have a successor and my freedom. How awesome would that be? I applied to visit family over there, but their armed police unit only approved me for 5 days. Time is incredibly tight. I need to hurry. I sent a message to Guqing, telling him to wait for me downstairs by the family dormitory. It was at that moment I realized something very important. I actually couldn't remember what he looked like. There were quite a few people in police uniforms standing downstairs, all standing ramrod straight, with their hats on. I couldn't tell who was who. I took out our marriage certificate, squinting as I scanned the crowd, comparing each face one by one. Finally, under a tree, I spotted a man who looked just like him. I started running towards Guqing, waving my hand as I ran. The moment our eyes met, his brow furrowed. Now he looked about 80% like the person in the photo. I pulled him into a tight hug. Startled, he immediately pushed me away. "What are you doing?" I was a little annoyed. If he wouldn't even agree to a hug, how were we supposed to have a baby? Looks like I'll have to straighten him out during this time. He seems to have gotten a bit tanner. Not as handsome as before, and his voice is a little hoarse. I can't be bothered with beating around the bush, so I'll just come right out and say it. I know you're busy too, so let's make the most of our time and try for a baby. Let's aim to get it right on the first try. Guqing looked as if he'd seen a ghost, his face a picture of sheer terror. Just then, a familiar, stern voice called out from behind me, "Lin Xian." I froze. A sense of foreboding shooting from the soles of my feet to the crown of my head. I tensed up and slowly turned around. I saw another, even more handsome version of Guqing standing behind me. He was wearing a police uniform, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist, his figure tall and slender. A faint flush colored his cheeks and the corners of his eyes. To those who knew, he was clearly angry. To those who didn't, he might have seemed on the verge of tears. "When we married, I promised you plenty of freedom, but going so far as to ask someone else for a child, isn't that taking it a bit too far? Help, I got the wrong person." The guy I'd mistaken took off like a rabbit, darting over to Guqing, reporting, "Captain, I'm innocent. Your wife made the first move. This is so embarrassing. I'm completely on edge." Guqing nodded. "I know. Your father is over by the flower bed. Go and meet him." Long legs strode toward me, step by step, under my watchful gaze. He silently picked up the luggage at my feet. He seemed to possess a natural, breathtaking presence. I was at a loss for words. Inside the staff housing room, the silence was deafening. From the moment he entered, he naturally started helping me unpack and make the bed. On our fourth meeting, the conversation seemed even sparser. I was so embarrassed, looking everywhere but at him, practically digging a hole in the floor with my toes. What if I told you I just mistook someone else for my husband? Would you believe me? He bent down and slid the empty suitcase under the bed. As he lowered his head, bringing him close to me, he seemed to think of something, paused, and looked my way. Perhaps because he was bent over, his words carried a soft, breathy quality. "Then take a good look, so you don't forget what your man looks like." Damn, even though he's unconscious, he looks absolutely captivating right now. And up close, he's even more handsome. His eyelashes are longer than mine. His pupils aren't particularly large, but they seem to glow. I can't help but imagine how beautiful a child with his handsome genes would be. I suppose my gaze was a bit too brazen. He immediately straightened up, frowning with unease. "We agreed on just 2 glances. Huh, that's stingy. Are we? We're husband and wife. I'm looking." He pressed his lips together without a word, his face, ears, and neck flushing a deep red. "The atmosphere is getting a bit charged. We're so close right now, in a TV show. This is the part where they either kiss or start fighting. Fighting on the team is frowned upon, so I guess I could reluctantly go for a kiss." I clenched my fist eagerly, as if preparing for the night's intimate encounter, but deep down, I felt a pang of anxiety. I was afraid he might pin me down like he did on our wedding day. Whatever. I rose onto my tiptoes, ready to pounce on him. "Sir." The half-open door was instantly shoved aside by an officer. Guqing instinctively stepped aside. With my support gone, I slammed into the bed frame with a thud. "Damn it." Guqing turned back, concerned. "Where did you get hit? Does it hurt?" I gritted my teeth, forced a smile, and waved my hand in awkward embarrassment. I've only been humiliated twice doing this sort of thing, and both times it was because of him. He's got something going on, I'll give him that. 5 minutes later, Guqing returned from his conversation. "Something came up with the team. I can't have lunch with you." I was afraid he wouldn't show up tonight, which would ruin my grand plan to get the baby but ditch the dad. I reminded him in a sweet, coquettish voice, "I'll be waiting for you. I'm going to have him for dinner tonight." Guqing came back at 5, still carrying his bag and dressed in casual clothes. He said he hadn't taken a vacation in years. This time, he took 5 days off to accompany me sightseeing and booked a homestay for us to stay in. I was just about to think this guy finally had some sense. That was until I pushed open the door to the homestay he booked. What kind of married couple books a twin room? What are you implying? Why don't you just book 2 separate rooms? Guqing was taken aback. His brow furrowed for a long moment before he finally conceded with a nod. "My apologies, I was being too hasty. I'll go change it to 2 rooms. For crying out loud, and he has the nerve to say, in a hurry. in a hurry to get me so angry I dropped dead. Is that it? Skip the divorce, go straight to widowhood. I grabbed a pillow and hurled it at him, furious at how utterly clueless he was, and he didn't even try to dodge it. He just stood there stiffly and let the pillow hit him square in the face. He lowered his gaze slightly, a faint trace of grievance glimmering in his eyes. Could anyone be more wrong than me, in the end? It was me who booked a couples king room online. I pulled him along with me. The moment we stepped inside, I was overcome with a wave of triumphant glee. This grown man actually looked flustered for a moment, though he quickly regained his composure. A faint trace of embarrassment flickered in his eyes. This room is no good, it's all flashy and tacky, with no sense of proper decorum at all. What the hell, I'm talking about ambience. And he's lecturing me on propriety, furious. I grabbed a prop from the wall and threw it at the mattress. We're a married couple on a trip, not monks on a spiritual retreat. I pointed at those amusing decorations again. Are you really that clueless? Or, his eyes followed my finger, then darted away as if they'd been burned. He didn't answer again, keeping his head down the whole time, his cheeks and ears flushed crimson. Now I understood, he gets it. His upbringing probably forbids him from being so brazen. So he's just putting on an act in front of me. As long as he understands, that's better than dealing with a complete blockhead. I had the front desk send up a bottle of wine. Once I get him good and tipsy, his true colors will come out. Even if he's a celibate saint, I'm determined to bring him down from his pedestal tonight. While Guqing was in the shower, I arranged some flowers and lit a few red candles. As he emerged, droplets traced the firm contours of his muscles. My eyes helplessly followed the path of each droplet, that is, until a t-shirt blocked the perfect view. I shot him a look of pure disappointment. He paused noticeably, then tiptoed past me in silence. I was so exasperated I almost laughed. Blinking, I simply raised my wine glass, wrapped my arms around his waist from behind, and cooed in a sickly sweet tone, "Hey there, handsome, care for a drink?" His solid, muscular body went rigid for an instant, making the red wine in his glass slosh. "What? Did you just call me?" Fresh from the shower, his voice carried a slight, pleasant huskiness. Oh, a voice connoisseur's dream come true. I stood on my tiptoes and deliberately leaned close to his ear. "Gidge, I've only ever called you that, you know. Don't you like it?" When I called him Gidge again, his whole body trembled. I saw his ear twitch slightly and instantly flush red. So adorable. Men, he obviously liked it a lot. Sorry, I can't drink. Department regulations forbid alcohol. Yet his voice, though slightly trembling, maintained an overall steadiness. Is that a non-answer? I narrowed my eyes slightly. Oh, you think you're clever, huh? How am I supposed to dodge the topic? How could I let him have his way? With a soft "oh," I pretended to slip and stumbled right into his arms. Seizing the moment, I pressed the wine glass to his lips. "Come on, lighten up. We're off duty now, big brother." This is my best friend's signature flirting move. I thought I had mastered it to perfection. But to my surprise, Guqing kept his eyes forward, lifted me, dazed and bleary-eyed, aside with one hand, and deftly caught the wine glass with the other. He then smoothly set it down on the table, smiling without a word. Ugh, I'm about to lose it. He's so stubborn and impossible to get through to. How are we ever supposed to have a baby like this? Just as I was stewing over it, my best friend texted me. Turns out she was coming out to the East Coast on a business trip right after me. He hasn't met Guqing yet, and he's been pestering me to bring him along to the bar tonight to have some fun. Just seeing the word alcohol gets me all worked up. He's the ultimate, stubborn straight guy, won't even touch a drop of red wine. How's he supposed to go to a bar? I vented all my frustrations to my best friend. She sent back a smug okay emoji. That's easy. Senior Yang and the others will be there tonight. Just sit between two of the seniors, take a picture, and send it to him. I bet he won't be able to stay calm. What a brilliant idea. My eyes lit up. Let's do it. Guqing wanted to take me out to dinner, but I pouted and said I was going to a bar with my best friend instead. I even made a point of showing him the carefully curated chat screen, complete with photos of two senior students. Seeing that, Guqing's expression finally shifted a little, but he kept his composure. With feigned concern, he asked, "Do they know you're married?" "Hey, I smell something. Smells pretty sour in here." I raised a brow slightly. My best friend knows. Whether the seniors know or not, I couldn't say. "Alright then, if you're jealous, you should ask me to stay. He's so strong. There's no way I could fight him off. If he just pins me to the bed, I won't be going anywhere tonight." But after a moment of silence, Guqing suddenly pulled something from his suitcase and hung it around my neck. "It's a tracker. If you're in danger, press this button and it will alert the police directly." 2 hours should be enough, I'll come pick you up then, huh? I glanced down at the hideous-looking tracker, my eye twitching. He, however, casually picked out a dress for me that wasn't revealing in the slightest. This one looks better than what you're wearing, go change. And then head out, have fun. No way, bro. Are you seriously not in a hurry? Gu Qing's voice was low and heavy. I promised you I wouldn't restrict your freedom, damn it, how magnanimous of you, how noble, you are utterly inhuman. I glared at him, fuming. Fine, I hope he's just as quick to let go when I'm the one who wants a divorce. Inside the kaleidoscopic bar, there were plenty of handsome men and beautiful women, but I had no heart to look. My mind was completely filled with Gu Qing's words, have fun. Gu Qing's eyes were downcast as he said this. He didn't look at me directly when I left. He seemed unhappy. That's messed up. Why on earth do I care about his feelings now? My best friend sat down next to me. Did you post the photos on your socials? I nodded my slightly dizzy head. Just did. I even captioned it with might not make it back tonight. What if he doesn't show up? My best friend shot me a teasing look and said, oh, look at our little Xiner. I think she's fallen hard. Getting all anxious and insecure over a scene like this, I took a swig of my drink, scoffed, and told her she was talking nonsense. My best friend laughed. Don't worry, most soldiers are tough guys, and tough guys have a really strong possessive streak when it comes to their wives. Oh really? But he didn't even try to stop me when I left. This man has completely shattered my confidence. Just as my best friend predicted, Gu Qing arrived 10 minutes later. His usually calm and composed face now showed a hint of agitation, and he even seemed slightly out of breath. Lin Xian, his anxious, worried eyes were fixed on me, shimmering with light, and filled with nothing but my reflection. My best friend was completely starstruck. Oh my god, he's even hotter in person. I need to date someone like that before I die. The two seniors who had been chatting and laughing beside me suddenly fell silent. They showed no intention of moving, and instead teased with a hint of hostility. Lin Xian, who's this boyfriend of yours? Aren't you going to introduce us? Then, looking at Gu Qing, they added, she has a lot of admirers. You'll have to get in line if you want to pursue her. At that moment, Gu Qing's gaze swept over the two of them, his entire being radiating an intimidating pressure I had never seen before. Then, out of the blue, she remembered the times she'd been bested by him and felt a sudden urge to get under his skin. She introduced him on purpose. This is my friend, Gu Qing. Gu Qing, these are our seniors. The two seniors raised their eyebrows, teasing. Now that your sweetheart is here, you won't call us brother anymore. Damn, I never even call them brother normally. Okay, the script my bestie gave me is a bit too much. I've never seen Gu Qing lose his temper. But the word brother seemed to have stepped right on Gu Qing's landmine. Right, I did say this morning that he was the only one I ever called brother. His eyes were fixed on me, a subtle curve playing at the corner of his lips. It was a perfectly polite smile, yet it made my heart clench tight. The pressure was overwhelming. It was so intense I felt a pang of guilt, holding my breath and swallowing hard without thinking. I almost couldn't keep up the act, just as I was about to break character. Gu Qing, however, suddenly shifted his gaze away, looking toward the two seniors. He pulled a red booklet from his breast pocket and slapped it down on the bar table. He let out a chilling, mirthless laugh. Friends, sure, we're friends, but friends with this kind of connection shouldn't have to wait in line, right? We were all completely stunned. Seriously, who on earth carries their marriage certificate around with them? The two seniors stood up stiffly and silently. Even I was so overwhelmed by the tension that I almost got up to leave on instinct. It was Gu Qing who stood by my side, holding my hand tightly as we sat back down together. The sofa is so spacious, yet he's pressed right up against my arm. He's so warm, his arm is warm, and his palm is too. It felt like a lion asserting its dominance. My heartbeat gradually quickened. Gu Qing offered a polite, perfunctory smile to her best friend and the senior student, her expression utterly devoid of warmth. The boisterous surroundings stood in stark contrast to the heavy silence between us. To break the tense atmosphere, my best friend suggested we play a dice game. As the mood began to thaw, I leaned in and whispered, "Why do you have your marriage certificate with you?" Gu Qing's distant gaze suddenly snapped into focus. His voice, usually reserved, now carried an unusual weight of sincerity. "Because it has your picture on it. The one and only picture of you I have." My mouth fell open in silent astonishment. After all this time being married, I realized I had never actually sent him a single selfie. It felt like a sudden, heavy blow to the chest. I looked at him, unable to tear my eyes away. My head rang with a violent, dizzying hum. Perhaps I had drunk too much, my cheeks were burning, and my vision was starting to blur. right on schedule. My best friend pointed loudly at the dozen bottles on the table and exclaimed, Xiao Xian, you lost so many rounds just now. And now your family's here, no holding back on your drinks, okay. Her hand clutched the bottle, but it wavered unsteadily. I'm not just putting on an act, the atmosphere tonight is truly intoxicating. Under the swaying lights, his eyes looked even more captivating, with my own reflection in them. My best friend chimed in from the side, hey, Xiaoxin, hurry up, you've got a lot of drinks to catch up on before we can move on. As the bottle's rim touched my lips, I hesitated for a brief moment. Before my eyes could even cast a resentful glance to the side, my bottle was snatched away. She's had enough to drink. It was Gu Qing. A flicker of delight stirred within me. This was the moment her best friend had been waiting for. She planted her hands on her hips and taunted, you pay your debts when you lose a bet. Surely you, as family, aren't going to back out. In response, Gu Qing made a move more dashing than she had ever seen from him. I accept, tipping his head back slightly. His throat working, he quickly drained the bottle. With a thud, he slammed it down on the bar. Under the stunned gaze of her best friend, she grabbed another bottle and, without pause, gave it a quick swirl in the air. Another bottle was emptied just as fast. My best friend let out a full-blown shriek, whooping and clapping. A flicker of complicated feelings passed through me. I poked Gu Qing with my finger. I thought you didn't drink. Gu Qing smiled, wiping the foam from the corner of his mouth. It's not that I can't drink, it's that I shouldn't. Relax and have fun. As long as I'm here, they won't dare mess with you. I pressed my lips together and fell silent. My best friend raised an eyebrow, thoroughly unimpressed by the display. Ooh la la, so you think you're untouchable now, huh? Gu Qing's only response was a hearty, booming laugh, even as his hands moved with lightning speed to clear the plates. Watching him like this, my heart suddenly felt all soft and fluttery. Like I was stepping on a cloud. My best friend clicked her tongue in mock disgust. Ugh, I can smell the lovey-dovey stench from here. 1 bottle. 2 bottles, all the way up to 10, but can someone please tell me, how is Gu Qing still not drunk? After finishing all the penalty drinks, Gu Qing remained as bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as ever. If it weren't for the fact that several people were completely wasted during the next game, I would have sworn we were drinking fake booze. But the sight of Gu Qing merely being tipsy filled me with a profound sense of sorrow. Arg, this is nothing like what I had in mind. Well, it looks like I have no choice but to grin and bear it tonight. After the party, even my best friend was completely out drunk. I almost spilled the beans about my whole master plan. I was so startled that I quickly hailed a cab to send her home. Back at the hotel, my head was spinning. So I just went with the buzz, pulled him close, and tumbled onto the bed with him. He was about to get up and turn on the light, but I clung to him desperately, like an octopus. No, don't turn on the light. For once, the man listened. I was secretly delighted and, of course, seized the opportunity to press my advantage. I rolled over on top of him. His abs were so hard, so hot. I loved it. My hand was suddenly caught. The man beneath me was breathing heavily. You haven't showered. Just a moment. Don't spoil my mood. But my hand was restrained once more. In the darkness, Gu Qing's eyes gleamed like tempered steel, gazing at me with a blend of longing and intensity. Lin Xian, I want to ask you a question. Huh, go ahead, ask, I said, my mouth slightly agape. Do you, like me? I do. Without a moment's hesitation, I was ready to take a bite, to devour this prized delicacy, but Gu Qing pressed the back of his hand against my lips. I meant the kind of love, a word both familiar and foreign. It was like a bucket of cold water had been thrown over me, jolting me awake. In the past, my carefree soul would have lied without a second thought, but in the dimly lit night, under the moonlight, when my eyes met Gu Qing's intense and unwavering gaze, I hesitated. Gu Qing is such a blockhead, nothing like other men. In that moment of hesitation, he gave me no chance to answer. He spun me around in his arms and effortlessly laid me down. My hair cascaded around me as I could only watch him walk into the bathroom. I'm all sweaty. I'm going to take a shower first. You go ahead and sleep. He moved quickly. The moment I watched the hem of his shirt slip through my fingers, my nose stung and I buried myself under the covers. Damn it, he's just a lousy man. What do I have to be upset about? There's no way he can escape my grasp. Maybe it's the alcohol talking. I had planned countless ways to get back at him in the middle of the night, but I didn't use a single one. I didn't even know how I fell asleep. In the middle of the night, I thought I heard a sound. I cracked my eyes open and saw Gu Qing, using his phone as a light, writing something down. Groggy and half asleep, I mumbled, What are you doing, under the desk lamp? He offered an apologetic smile, then bowed his head earnestly and resumed writing furiously. I'm writing a self-criticism report. I drank far too much today, which is a terrible example. I have to submit a formal apology to the team. You should get some sleep. I drew a sharp breath. That was it. I'm genuinely impressed by this man's integrity. When I woke up this morning, my head was splitting. I'd been on the straight and narrow for too long. I'm a total lightweight now. My stomach churned with acid, and my mouth was parched and sour. I was hunched over the trash can by the bed, retching for what felt like ages. Just as I tried to wipe my mouth, hearing the commotion, Gu Qing emerged from the kitchen, still holding a bowl in his hands. Seeing me in such a sorry state, he quickly sat down beside me and started rubbing my back. I'm fine. I leaned into Gu Qing's broad chest, my heart betraying me with a traitorous flutter. Just as I was silently cursing my own weakness, a bowl of broth was placed before me. Your stomach must be bothering you. Huh, I heard you moaning all night. This is a hangover soup. Have some first, and then eat a little something later. He looked down at me, his gaze unusually gentle. I took it and had a small sip. It was slightly sweet. Tastes good. After finishing the bowl, I felt a soothing warmth settle in my stomach. I grinned, feeling a bit lightheaded as I gave him a silly smile. Where'd you buy this? You can't buy this. I got the recipe from someone and brewed it fresh. He took my bowl and set it aside, then gently pressed the back of his hand against my forehead to check my temperature. His brow was slightly furrowed, his lashes thick as a palm leaf fan, giving him a deep, captivating look when focused. Not sick. He uttered the words softly, the tension in his brow melting away as a faint smile touched his lips, revealing a hint of a dimple and making his already handsome, sun-kissed face utterly mesmerizing. Oh my God, I tilted my head, watching him until I was practically drooling. Unfortunately, it dripped right onto the back of his hand. Gu Qing looked down at the drool, then at me frozen in place, utterly bewildered. Are you hungry? If my stomach hadn't chimed in just in time with a saving rumble, my burning red cheeks would have given away my complete embarrassment. I tore into the soup dumpling, baring my teeth at Gu Qing all the while. Just you wait. Once I've got my strength back, big sister here is going to figure out a way to devour you. Sober and clear-headed again, I had indeed made up my mind. If Gu Qing dares to ask that ridiculous question from last night again, I'll make mincemeat out of him without a second thought. Then, I'd lean back against the headboard, coolly light a cigarette, hook a finger under his handsome, dejected face, and tell him without a care, honey, I love you. Lost in my vivid daydream, I polished off the last soup dumpling. Maybe I ate too fast or too much, because I suddenly retched and threw up a whole bin's worth. Gu Qing was terrified and rushed over to my side in a flash, anxiously wiping my mouth and asking questions. I'm really fine. But Gu Qing clearly didn't believe me. He was incredibly worried. In the end, he drew the curtains, adjusted my pillow, and told me to get some more rest, but he just turned and walked out. You rest up. I'm just popping down to the clinic. I was on the verge of tears, waving my arms in a futile gesture. All I wanted to say was that I probably just ate too fast, and that I'd be fine if you just held me for a bit. But officer was in too much of a hurry, and in the blink of an eye, he was gone. When I opened my eyes again, I was woken by a delicious aroma. Just as I was thinking about keeping lunch light, the tantalizing smell of a meal wafted over, lifting my spirits. I propped myself up and stared at the lavish spread on the table, my jaw nearly hitting the floor. Gu Qing, the food at this homestay is this good. Gu Qing finished setting the table. Hearing my voice, he wiped the sweat from his brow and turned around. I borrowed their kitchen to make it. I thought, since you're not feeling well, you might not be used to the local flavors, so I cooked some dishes from back home. How are you feeling now? Still unwell? I got you some medicine. When I came back, you were sleeping so soundly I didn't want to wake you. I smacked my lips, utterly dumbfounded. He can actually cook. What a perfect husband. I didn't even bother to brush my teeth, hopping out of bed and rushing to the table, where I scooped up a piece of stir-fried meat with my chopsticks and stuffed it into my mouth. It's so tender and flavorful, with a rich, savory taste of meat that fills your mouth. So good. Gu Qing, how do you make food this delicious? I was poking my chopsticks everywhere like a greedy little cat. Gu Qing replied to me with utmost seriousness from the side. My mom made me learn it when I was a kid. She told me that if a guy cooks really well, the government will prioritize finding him a girlfriend. I almost snorted with laughter. After swallowing my food, I asked him, and you actually believed that? Yet, he gave me a solemn, earnest nod. A letter. It's all Gu Qing's fault for being such a good cook. I ate so much that I actually started hiccuping, and I just couldn't stop. Gu Qing was trying hard to stifle his laughter. A wave of despair washed over me. Oh no, what am I going to do? How is this devouring plan supposed to proceed now? Just imagining the scene, after I pounce on Gu Qing, I grin, only for a massive skyward burp to erupt, hitting him right in the face. I'm feeling so down right now. I guess I'm totally done for in the entire socialite scene. Huh, are we just supposed to sit here and do nothing? Just seeing Gu Qing trying to hold back his laugh makes me so furious. Arg, after a lifetime of glory, how do I keep getting humiliated by you? Pouting with anger, I leaned against the window and looked out. I saw that the Wanda Plaza not far from the homestay was packed with people. Apparently for some kind of music event. My eyes lit up instantly as an idea struck me. He's got a high tolerance for alcohol and is very guarded. A direct approach definitely won't work on him. If I were Gu Qing out completely today, then force myself on him while he's asleep tonight, wouldn't that be the perfect, natural outcome? Gu, hic, Qing hic, let's go play over there, hic, still hiccuping. I grabbed a bewildered Gu Qing and dragged him away. He clearly didn't read my mind correctly. I deliberately made my way into the thick of the crowd. To shield me, Gu Qing had no choice but to keep pushing people aside while constantly apologizing. After the considerable effort of squeezing through several waves of people, I finally realized the mall was hosting an event, and they'd even invited my favorite idol to make an appearance. The entrance was packed with fans cheering and showing their support. I got here too late and was stuck at the back, so I couldn't see a thing. I jumped for all I was worth, catching fleeting glimpses of my idol's head bobbing in and out of view. Hic, I can't see, hic. Just as I stamped my foot, a pair of hands suddenly caught me by the waist. The next moment, I was lifted into the air. I was about to let out a cry of surprise. Gu Qing's steady voice sounded by my ear. I've got you. If you want to see, you can sit on my shoulders. Ugh, I'm gonna die. My cheeks were burning, and I could feel everyone's eyes on me. The last time I sat on someone's shoulders was probably in kindergarten, feeling a bit shy. I was so shy. I couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from curling up into a smile no matter how hard I tried. The view from up here is great. Maybe the scare earlier did the trick. I've even stopped hiccuping. Right next to me, a child of about 5 or 6 was also being lifted up by her father. The child's voice was young and clear. Thank you, Daddy, you're the best, I smiled. Gently ruffling Gu Qing's soft hair, you're the best too, I praised, perhaps because I was so close. The little one heard me and chimed in to correct me. Miss, you should say, thank you, Daddy, and Daddy is the best. That's the polite way. I was slightly embarrassed. Gu Qing let out a soft pit of laughter from below, still chuckling. He added, sorry about that. By the time I finished listening to the song, 20 minutes had passed. When Gu Qing set me down, he wasn't even out of breath. I gave his arm a pat, feeling both satisfied and envious. He's just so damn strong. With genes this good, it'd be a shame not to have a kid. Clearly, this level of exercise was no challenge at all for Gu Qing. I glanced at the Wanda Plaza next to me, my eyes narrowing. They say men hate shopping, but today he's my personal pack mule. I'm going to run him ragged. With that devious thought in mind, I dragged Gu Qing along, floor by floor, from accessory shops and snack stalls, all the way to handbag stores, and then on to clothing boutiques. If I see something I like, I'm buying it, and I made Gu Qing carry all the shopping bags. Gu Qing walked tall and straight, but looked a bit comical with 4 bags dangling from one hand. Yet, when I looked at his face, there wasn't a trace of tiredness. I gritted my teeth and thought, let's go shopping. We'll shop until we drop. We walked for another hour or so. I thought Gu Qing would be annoyed, but he just said calmly, maybe we should buy you a new pair of shoes later. The heels you're wearing are a bit high, and your feet might start to hurt if we keep walking. That one sentence almost melted my heart. Who would have thought someone so wooden could be so thoughtful? But, doesn't he ever get tired? Inside the fitting room, I deliberately pulled back a corner of the curtain to see what he was doing. I didn't expect him to just sit there on the sofa, doing nothing but staring intently in my direction. He was more focused than a bodyguard. Even when the shop assistant offered him water, he just gave a polite nod before shifting his gaze back to me. He saw me the moment I pulled back the curtain. He gave a slightly bashful smile, his gaze a little evasive. I looked down. Oops, forgot I was trying on a super daring dress. What Gu Qing didn't know was that his slightly shy, lowered gaze, paired with the form-fitting black shirt that showed off his figure, created an aura of restrained desire mixed with a wild sort of shyness. It was utterly captivating. Yet, when I looked up, that face of righteous integrity was also glowing with vibrant energy. I watched from afar, utterly transfixed. but suddenly, a girl in a little black dress darted up beside Gu Qing. She eagerly pulled out her phone. "Hey handsome, can I get your WeChat?" My lovesick aura vanished instantly. How am I still attracting attention? Gu Qing waved his hand and pointed in my direction. "She's married," I waved over there, putting on a demonstrative, sugary voice. "Honey, my necklace is stuck." Gu Qing hurried in and saw the clothes still hanging around my waist. His gaze froze, and his voice instantly became adorably awkward. "And no, it's not stuck." Without a second thought, I turned my head and planted a quick mwah on Gu Qing's cheek. "There, your reward, now get out." I had no idea how he reacted. This time, I was the one who couldn't bring myself to look at him. Kissing him so suddenly was a reckless impulse, but after the kiss, my mind was suddenly in a complete uproar. A thought suddenly struck me: butterflies in my stomach. Having a crush on someone is like having a swarm of butterflies in your stomach. If you open your mouth, they'll all fly out. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. My face was flushed, and I was breathing rapidly. I had never felt this way before. Lin Xian. What on earth are you doing? I think I was wrong. This was my thought after 4 hours of shopping. By the time we finished at 8 p.m., I had literally dragged myself through every single store possible. Only then did I realize how utterly wrong I was. I had grossly underestimated Gu Qing's physical prowess as an elite SWAT officer. My legs felt like jelly, trembling with every step. In the end, he had to carry me back. I took a shower first, and afterwards, I wriggled around on the bed like a worm, hugging the blanket. Should I make a move on him today or not? I shopped till I dropped. I'm completely wrecked, but time is running out. If I don't make my move soon, it'll be too late. I took deep, steadying breaths, trying to talk myself down. Gu Qing emerged from the bathroom. I turned my head at the sound. Beads of water still clung to his skin, and his physique was so perfect it seemed to glow. He saw my eyes go wide, probably guessing what was on my mind. A blush spread across my face as I averted my gaze. "Aren't you tired? You should get some rest." With a body like that right in front of me, how the hell could I rest now? "I'm done sleeping." I slapped the bed and sprang into action. I rushed over, grabbed his hand, and pulled him toward the bed. As I pushed him, his hand accidentally hit the light switch, plunging the room into darkness. "Don't open it." Perfect. I needed a bit of courage for this kind of thing anyway. I took a sharp, deep breath, suppressing my pounding heart, and went straight in for a kiss. Gu Qing probably never expected me to be so forward and was completely stunned, frozen in place. As a seasoned player, I was so flustered kissing him that I even forgot to breathe. The moment we broke apart, I gasped for air. Darkness. In the dark, I couldn't make out Gu Qing's expression. He just gently tucked my hair behind my ear, his warm hands cupping my face. "Lin Xian, you still haven't answered me from last time." "Don't ask. Please don't ask." "I don't know." I bowed my head. "Lin Xian, shut up." I pinned him down with a backhanded motion. "So much talk." "Humph, I was wrong. Truly, I was wrong. I blame myself for my reckless actions. I hadn't seen the sun at 6 in the morning since my college entrance exams. At that moment, I felt practically disabled. I woke up to find it was already past 1 in the afternoon. Gu Qing was beside me, his arm still draped around my waist. "Morning," he greeted me, his eyes sparkling. I'd never seen him like this before. He seemed a little different from before. Just thinking about last night made my whole body flush with heat. This feels so surreal. But the aches in my body are a stark reminder that everything that happened yesterday was all too real. My best friend asked us out for a meal. As I stepped out, my legs nearly gave way, and I would have stumbled if Gu Qing hadn't caught me. "Be careful." My face flushed instantly. Ugh, how embarrassing. My home leave is almost over. After all, I came this time specifically for the kids. He never asked me about love again. I guess we both finally understood. When Gu Qing saw me off at the airport, my heart ached with a pang of reluctance. He held my hand the entire way, his gaze earnest and reverent. "I have 2 days off in a month. I'll come back then." I see it now. Even a mighty lion, once it has tasted the marrow, can become clingy. My heart is racing. I don't really want to leave, but staying here won't mean he can be with me. We're running out of time. I raised my phone with a wave. "Keep in touch." I was just wondering if this goodbye would be different from all the others. Then, Gu Qing leaned in and kissed me, not on the lips, but on the cheek. But for him, it was enough. "I'll miss you. I always will." I wove my way through the crowd, farther and farther away. One glance back, I turned my head, and could still see Gu Qing's figure through the overlapping silhouettes. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I could feel Gu Qing's gaze still following me. It's a truly comforting feeling. It makes you want to return to a peaceful life and live steadily. From that day on, I still go about my day, eating and drinking as usual. But the happiest part of my day is still the evening. Because only in the evening can Guqing send me messages, unlike before. He now says I miss you every single day. I'm not as reserved as before, and I've become much more of a sweet talker. I'm counting down the days on my fingers. I'm looking forward to the holiday in a month. This period of anticipation has made me realize one thing. I've fallen head over heels for Guqing. I don't want a divorce anymore. I told my best friend. My best friend just gave a knowing smile. I already figured. A month later, but Guqing did not return. A sudden flood hit the eastern region. Their SWAT team also rushed to the disaster site to rescue the local victims. Guqing was still on a video call with me on his way to the disaster site, his face filled with self-reproach. I'm sorry. I can't make it back. I smiled and shook my head. It's okay. This is your duty. Guqing let out a soft sigh. Are you outside? I waved at him. Yep. My bestie asked me to hang out. You take care. Okay, with that. I quickly hung up the phone. I was afraid he'd hear the sound of me dragging my luggage. I thought to myself, if he can't come to me, then I'll go to him. Due to the weather, all flights were grounded, so I had to take the high-speed train. I followed the local live news coverage the entire way, piping, overtopping, breaches, even mudslides. Whether it was evacuating people or delivering relief supplies, they were always at the forefront. I scrolled through the news over and over, searching everywhere. Suddenly, in a clip from a flood relief scene, I spotted that familiar figure, but that was immediately followed by a sharp pang in my heart. 3 piping failures occurred in a village, with the largest one spanning several meters in diameter. The water gushing from the breach was fierce. I saw Guqing, along with several SWAT officers, leap into the water. The water had already risen past their chests and was continuing to climb. With a loud shout, Guqing gritted his teeth fiercely. Linking arms with his teammates, he pressed his entire body against the breach, using his own form to desperately seal the piping point. His face was deathly pale, tinged with purple, yet his eyes burned with unwavering resolve. The image vanished as quickly as it had appeared. My emotions were on the verge of total collapse. I frantically scrolled through every news feed, hot tears streaming down my face. Guqing, you have to be okay. By the time I arrived, it was already 10 at night. I frantically called Guqing, but I couldn't reach him at all. I had long since cried myself out, left to helplessly watch the situation unfold in silence. Fortunately, the weather is starting to improve, but the rescue efforts are still ongoing. The road to the affected village is blocked. Only rescue personnel are allowed in, everyone else can only leave. There's still no word from Guqing. In a frantic rush, I had someone contact a local friend and managed to secure a spot at the very peak of a hill. Armed with a pair of military binoculars, I kept a distant watch. For a full day and night, the embankment was ablaze with lights as I searched desperately, but they had all been transformed into mud-caked figures, indistinguishable from one another, and so I watched the entire night through. They were out there rescuing people all night as well. Just when I was about to give up, my phone finally rang. It's Guqing. My hand trembled as I answered the call. Lin Xian, I'm so sorry for making you worry. Guqing's voice was uncharacteristically weak and hoarse, as if afraid I might catch on. He cleared his throat hastily. I'm fine. My tightly wounded heart suddenly unclenched, tears welled up. And I quickly ended the call, switching to a video chat instead. Guqing took a moment before answering. He looked terrible, with his head wrapped in bandages as if he'd been cut. He was filthy all over, his lips so dry they were peeling. Liar, I muttered under my breath. My heart ached as I gently touched his image on the phone screen. Go eat, drink some water, and get some proper rest. Guqing gave an embarrassed smile. Don't hang up. I want to look at you a little longer, I cried out. Guqing grunted in acknowledgement. The camera pointed at himself, swaying slightly. Yeah, I'm heading back to base now. I can finally shower and get some sleep when I get there. He noticed something was off with me, his brow furrowing. Where are you? Are you wearing a raincoat? I can see trees in the background. I couldn't help but let a smile tug at the corner of my mouth. Oh, you caught me. Well then, guess where I am. Guqing was taken aback for a moment, then he took off like a shot. Sprinting away, when we met, I had every intention of surprising him, but seeing him so worn out, I just wanted to cry. He ran over so fast, excitedly stopping in front of me, only to freeze. He stood before me, awkward and shy, his hands that had started to reach out instantly pulled behind his back. Don't you dare run from me. I gave him a sharp rebuke, and he froze in place, and then, I threw myself at him, wrapping him in a fierce, all-encompassing hug. I'm filthy, he murmured. his voice weak and tender. "It's not dirty." I held on even tighter. Behind us, his adorable teammates all burst into laughter. We only had a moment together. Gu Qing was about to move out with his unit. This time, I couldn't hold back. I clung to him and sobbed. Gu Qing was heartbroken too. All he could do was gently pat my back and call my name, over and over. Lin Xin, Lin Xin, Lin Xin. "It's really time to say goodbye." Gritting my teeth, I wrenched myself free from his embrace. "When you come back next time, you have to make it up to me." "I will, I promise you." He reached out to wipe the corner of my eye, his gaze filled with tenderness. I really don't want to cry anymore, yet the corners of my eyes are stinging again. I could only turn my back sharply and wave to him. "Goodbye." I can't look back. I must not look back. But the moment the police car started moving, I couldn't help but turn around. Gu Qing stood ramrod straight on the vehicle. His gaze fixed silently upon me, yet, his right hand was pressed firmly together and raised with determination to the side of his face. He was saluting me. That figure grew more and more distant, until I could see no more. Clamping a hand over my mouth, I suddenly understood the true meaning of being an officer's wife. The flood rescue operation was soon over. I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. When my best friend heard about my crazy stunt, she sighed and said I was completely gone for him. Whether I'm truly gone for him or not, I can't say, but all I think about every day is how to stretch my phone calls with Gu Qing a little longer. It's a shame his training schedule is so demanding. We can only have a proper, long phone chat every few days. Gu Qing is smiling more and more, and I've definitely rubbed off on him. He's getting cuter by the day. Our relationship is growing by leaps and bounds. I'm counting down the days, one by one. How much longer until he comes back? But to my utter surprise, Gu Qing didn't return my call until very late one day. His voice was low and somber as he told me he might not be able to return for a while, that he had a secret mission to carry out. The moment I heard the words "secret mission," I was so startled I jumped to my feet, my mind racing with visions of danger. Thankfully, Gu Qing clarified it was a good thing, a mission to bring honor to the country, but because it requires strict confidentiality, he won't be able to contact me for a month. As a consolation, however, he was granted 2 weeks of leave once the matter was settled. That's when my face finally lit up with a smile. But what I never could have anticipated was that during that month we were out of contact, I discovered I was pregnant. It really caught me off guard, yet it was something I'd planned for all along. My best friend laughed and said, "One shot, one hit. That's some accuracy." That very night, she rushed over to my place in a frenzy, saying she was moving in to secure her spot as the godmother. I didn't keep the good news from either set of parents. My in-laws were grinning from ear to ear and rushed over that very night with a nutritionist and a chef in tow. They told me not to lift a finger from then on, to just focus on resting for the pregnancy. They were absolutely doting on me. The whole over-the-top production left me not knowing whether to laugh or cry. It was only with my best friend's help that I managed to talk the elderly couple out of hovering over me constantly. They left behind a nutritionist and a chef. After the old couple's endless reminders and instructions, they returned to their hometown with a touch of resentment, knowing my free-spirited nature and that my best friend was staying with me. My parents gave up on the idea of moving in, however. They came to visit us every other day, and as a result, my friend and I managed to gain a solid 5 pounds in just half a month. Thank goodness my best friend was there for me. Whenever I missed Gu Qing, she would find all sorts of ways to cheer me up. Later, my father-in-law, worried I'd be anxious, had someone discreetly inquire and got the news at the right time. It turns out, Gu Qing was representing the country in a competition. The secrecy was only necessary because it was a last-minute assignment. Now that the competition has started overseas, there's no need for secrecy anymore. They said Gu Qing should be able to contact home soon, which put my mind at ease. So it was for the glory of the country. A smile touched my lips, and a great weight lifted from my chest. Well, you know how it is. Good news puts you in high spirits. In just a few short days, I managed to pack on a few extra pounds. My best friend teased that if Gu Qing video called me now, he probably wouldn't even recognize me. I just smiled and dragged her on 3 laps around the neighborhood after dinner. She's even more of a couch potato than I am, so she quickly threw in the towel and offered to ask around about Gu Qing's situation abroad for me. Only then did I let her off the hook. Online information is so scarce, I don't want to miss a single update about Gu Qing. She pulled some strings and found a foreign journalist embedded with the competition. They sent us a lot of photos of the Chinese SWAT team without compromising the situation. My best friend pointed at Gu Qing's handsome photo and squealed. We were typing back and forth remotely, and the other side was utterly astonished. "Oh, that Chinese guy, incredible. He's already won several championships, that's truly remarkable." The foreign journalist was even more astonished upon learning I was his wife. Showering us with a constant stream of praise, they said he had broken several records, including one in an event their country had dominated for multiple consecutive championships, which Gu Qing managed to snatch away. Hearing such high praise from a foreign friend was something else. I was absolutely floating on air, and I said to my bestie with a cheeky grin, "See, that's my husband." My bestie snorted and rolled her eyes at me. She's already started showing off her husband. Gu Qing's long-awaited overseas call finally came through. After he had finished all his events, he was about to have me guess, but I just started showing him the photos one by one. He was completely stunned on the spot. He told me, caught between laughter and tears, that he had won 5 gold medals, 3 individual events and 2 team events. He brought honor to his country. Watching him draped in the national flag, I felt a surge of pride in that moment. Lin Xin, I'll be home soon, wait for me. Gu Qing hung up the phone, his heart full of joy. My best friend nudged me with a laugh, asking why I hadn't told him about the pregnancy. I smiled and said there was no rush, that we could wait until his next call. In this moment, he belonged to the nation, but I never could have imagined. I never did get another call from Gu Qing. 1 day passed, then 2. I was completely on edge. I tried calling Gu Qing. All I got in response was his phone, switched off again and again. A nameless panic began to rise in me. My best friend contacted the foreign journalist, who said they had already returned to their home country and had no news of Gu Qing. A sudden unease settled in my heart. That day, I received a mysterious phone call. The caller said they had arranged for our family to meet the flight. My best friend and I were driven to a private airfield, and yet, everyone had returned, except for Gu Qing. Where is my Gu Qing? I searched through the crowd. The same was true for another officer's wife. That was until a crew cut officer approached me with a few others in tow. I'd seen that guy before. He was the young officer I'd mistaken for someone else at the station. They saw me with the officer's wife. He first offered a solemn, formal bow, unable to look at us, his eyes brimming with tears. He suddenly and heavily placed a box before the other officer's widow. My deepest condolences. In that moment, the blood in my veins ran cold, my foot slipped. And if my best friend hadn't caught me, I would have fallen flat on the ground. I didn't even know the full story, yet it was just a single box. It possessed a power potent enough to shatter a person's very will to live. The police officer's wife beside me collapsed, sobbing. A crowd gathered around her and called for an ambulance. "Where's Gu Qing? Gu Qing, what happened to him?" I kept my head down, not daring to look, and muttered to myself, "Ma'am, the captain is alive, but he's in a bad way. A real bad way." The young officer's choked-up voice made my heart stop dead, my legs trembled, and a ringing filled my ears. It was as if I couldn't hear a thing, I couldn't see a thing. Only after I had completely calmed down, did they finally tell me what had happened. After the competition, Gu Qing and a SWAT officer named Zhang Huai went to buy some local souvenirs on behalf of their teammates. Unfortunately, they happened to be caught in a terrorist attack. Sensing something was wrong, Gu Qing and Zhang Huai managed to evacuate a group of civilians. However, they themselves also became trapped inside the building. 16 children were also taken hostage by the assailants. The local security situation is chaotic, and the terrorists are extremely brutal. The SWAT team sent for the rescue was woefully inadequate. Gu Qing and Zhang Huai could have escaped, yet without a second thought, they joined the rescue effort. The assailants were caught completely off guard. Zhang Huai was shot 6 times and died at the scene in the line of duty. In an attempt to save the child from being shot, Gu Qing lunged forward to intervene. He managed to take down the assailant, but not before taking 3 bullets and countless stab wounds himself. His condition was critical, forcing him to remain in the area for treatment. After hearing this, I was stunned into silence for a long while. Slowly, I lowered my head and looked down at my growing, rounded belly. I want to cry, but no sound comes out. So the greatest sorrow in the world is a silent one. I blacked out, and when I came to, the homes on both sides, the whole family is here. The hospital room was in complete chaos. They were all comforting me, urging me to take good care of myself. My health is the most important thing right now. Our Gu family has wronged you. Gu Qing's parents, their voices choked with emotion, held my hand, their bodies trembling just the same. That was my husband, but he was their son, too. In that moment, I have to be strong. I forced a smile, holding back my tears. Dad, Mom, Gu Qing will be alright. I have a surprise for him, and he will definitely come back safely. Perhaps I was genuinely affected. I've been feeling a bit run down. I keep feeling nauseous and queasy. I'm also not sleeping well, often waking up in the middle of the night. I keep telling myself not to overthink things, yet the longing for Gu Qing is simply inescapable. Gu Qing's vital signs are highly unstable. He cannot be transferred back to the country for treatment. Originally, arrangements could have been made for a family member to visit him locally. The persistent local unrest has made the situation extremely dangerous. All of us could do nothing but endure this endless torment. 3 months had passed. There was still no sign of Gu Qing regaining consciousness. Once things settled down locally, my first thought was to travel abroad to see him, but everyone tried to talk me out of it. The doctor said my pregnancy was unstable and showed signs of premature labor. On top of that, I was physically weak. An international journey would pose a serious risk to the baby. In the end, my mother-in-law stayed to look after me, while my father-in-law went over. My father-in-law would video call us every day to show me Gu Qing's condition. Seeing that although he hadn't woken up, his condition was improving day by day, it gave me some comfort when my own condition was stable. I'll visit Zhang Huai's wife often. Compared to me, she's the one who really needs comfort. It's a relief that Zhang Huai's wife has moved past the grief. The local government recorded many videos expressing gratitude. There were former hostages who had been rescued, as well as children who had been held by the kidnappers. Even though we didn't share a common language, whenever we saw their sincere thanks and well wishes, in that moment, both Zhang Huai's wife and I felt a great sense of peace. Zhang Huai also has a lovely 3-year-old daughter. Whenever the little girl asks about her father, her mother always points to a photo and says with a smile, "Daddy is right here, he is a great hero." The days went by. I'm about to give birth. On the day of delivery, the doctor told me the baby was in a breech position and I needed a C-section. My mind was in turmoil, and I felt quite anxious. Just as I was being wheeled into the operating room, I suddenly heard my best friend shouting from behind, holding up her phone, "Xiao Xian, Gu Qing is awake, he's awake." I told him you were in labor. He said, "You both must be safe and well. Mother and daughter, wait for me to come back." I was stunned for a moment, then broke into a happy smile. Gu Qing is awake. Suddenly, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. Hilarious bonus chapter. A boy. I was really hoping for a beautiful little girl, and he's a bit homely. I don't really want to look at him right now. Homely, nonsense. He's perfect. All newborns look a little wrinkled. Both families were overjoyed. I immediately asked my best friend for her phone so I could video call Gu Qing. The moment I saw him open his eyes and look at me, a sharp pang hit my nose, and I finally couldn't hold back my tears. Gu Qing's voice was terribly weak. "Hey, it's okay, I'm awake now. Don't cry. This is all my fault. I've really scared you these past few days." A long-lost voice, as if in a dream. There's only one voice in my head right now, and that is, I miss him, I want to see him, I want to be with him. He said he'd be transferred directly back to a hospital in our home country in a few days, and then, we had to expedite things. Gu Qing and I ended up as roommates in the hospital ward. The moment Gu Qing was carried in by a team of doctors and nurses, our eyes met, and neither of us could look away. "Gu Qing, Lin Xian, I'm here for you. The baby is 3 months old." The army gave Gu Qing a year's leave to recuperate. My best friend texted me, "You're pretty much all better now, right?" "Yeah, that's about right. What about the kids? The in-laws have them." My best friend sent a bunch of photos of grilled oysters and chives. "Want some?" I took Gu Qing out to dinner with my best friend. My friend ordered all the classics, chives, oysters, and lamb kidneys. Gu Qing really doesn't like kidneys. He was frowning the whole time, but he kept forcing them down anyway. I couldn't even watch. "If you don't like it, that's fine, we don't have to eat it." Gu Qing, however, shook his head. "It's alright. I know what you may, and I raised an eyebrow. "Then what do I mean?" Gu Qing leaned in with a quiet laugh. "You probably want a second child." Story 2. My husband has been reborn. The first thing he did after his rebirth was to bypass me, trapped in the rubble from the collapsed house during the earthquake, and start digging through the debris on the other side. I felt no pain. Instead, a wave of relief washed over me. In this life, I no longer have to carry the burden of his mother being left with paralyzed legs because he saved me instead of her. I no longer have to slave away for the Su family like I'm atoning for some sin, freely offering them my blood, sweat, and tears. Even if I die, it's fine. Anyway, I don't want to relive the hardships of my past life. The original me was beautiful, lively, cheerful, and capable. The apple of my parents' eye and a rising star in the eyes of my superiors. After marrying into the Su family, All the beauty in my life shattered, ushering in a 20-year nightmare of being treated like a beast of burden. Mother Sue would always scream at me, "If my son hadn't prioritized saving you, I wouldn't have lost my legs and become a cripple." My sister-in-law would also sob and curse, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be this poor child without a mother to care for me." Soo-jun also lamented countless times, "If I hadn't saved you, I wouldn't have become an unfilial son, the one who made my own mother lose the use of her legs. Otherwise, the one who should be disabled is you. You owe our entire family. Yes, it's all because he saved me first. I owe his entire family a debt I can never repay. I used the dowry my parents gave me to buy their family a large apartment in the city center and sent my sister-in-law to the most expensive private high school." Soo-jun claimed he was a victim of workplace bullying and quit his job in anger, staying home to play video games. Whenever I suggested he go out and find a job, he'd get furious, smashing his computer and throwing his mouse. "If I didn't have to see my mother like that every day, I wouldn't feel so guilty. That guilt wouldn't have led to my mistakes at work, and I wouldn't have been bullied by my colleagues and boss, forcing me to quit. I was actually highly regarded by my boss. I was up for a promotion. Hearing that, I couldn't bring myself to pressure him about work anymore. I even dutifully bought him a high-performance computer and mouse so he could play games better at home." The only person in the house who didn't use words to pressure me was Sue's father. However, he's the useless layabout of the house, with no say in anything. Every time, he just gives a half-hearted, non-committal response to smooth things over, then goes right back to focusing on his TV. I bear the financial burden for our family of 5, working diligently every day, terrified of losing my job. After work, I have to rush home to cook, prepare meals, and handle all the housework. If I'm even a little late getting home, the whole family glares at me with anger, berating me. Not a single person would lift a finger to wash one vegetable or mop the floor. I felt I owed them, so I didn't dare talk back. I could only bottle up my frustration, which led to blocked breast ducts, and eventually, I died from breast cancer. At the company, I originally had the opportunity for an overseas assignment that would have led to a promotion, but the Sue family couldn't manage without me. I didn't even dare to work overtime, let alone go on an overseas assignment. And so, juniors who are less capable and qualified than me have all climbed over my head, one by one, to become my superiors. Yet, I remain a lowly accountant, day in and day out, year after year, often subjected to ridicule and bullying. I don't dare resign either, as my entire family depends on my salary to get by. Of course, my measly salary of 10,000 yuan alone isn't enough to support so many people. I still have to rely on my parents for a monthly allowance. My parents feel for me, so they give me most of their pension. Before I married Soo-jun, they lived a very carefree life. They'd travel whenever they had the time, wore clothes from brand name stores costing thousands, and often bought all sorts of delicious treats. After I got married, they felt sorry for me and silently endured the fact that I brought the entire Sue family to live off them. We started buying clothes and shoes from street stalls. My mother, who had always complained about the smell of the wet market and only shopped at supermarkets, began going to the market too, even buying discounted, past its prime produce. Dad had a persistent cough, but to save money, he avoided the hospital and relied on folk remedies instead. This delayed proper treatment until it was too late. He was finally diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. Unable to bear the grief of Dad's passing, Mom became deeply depressed and, not long after, followed him in death. I don't know if it was due to the overwhelming stress and exhaustion, but I suffered multiple miscarriages and eventually became infertile. Sue's mother called me a barren hen, accusing me of ending their family line. Soo-jun met a woman in an online game, secretly had 2 children with her, and used my money to support them. Believing I owed the Sue family, I endured it all in silence, until I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Terrified of the pain from cancer, I mustered my courage and jumped from the 30th floor. To my surprise, I was reborn. Even more astonishing, Soo-jun was reborn as well, too. Soo-jun cried out for his mother in desperation, frantically clawing at the rubble of bricks, stones, and wooden beams, heedless of the blood streaming from his fingers. Before the earthquake, this had been a small, single-story shop awaiting demolition. Soo-jun and I were merely ordinary colleagues, working in different departments. I happened to be passing by that day, intending to buy a bottle of water. Then, a magnitude 5.0 earthquake struck. The entire bungalow collapsed, trapping me inside. I had just said hello to Soo-jun before entering the store. Seeing me trapped, he rushed over to rescue me, pulling me from the wreckage. But then, his elderly mother was also shopping here when a beam fell and crushed her legs. By the time the rescue team arrived and pulled her out, her legs were completely ruined, and she would never walk again. If only I had gotten my mother out in time, she wouldn't be like this, Soo-jun said with endless regret. This time, he was reborn, and he had a chance to make up for his regrets. My parents are still alive. I can't let them bury their own child. I have to fight for my own survival. I took a look at my surroundings. I realized my situation wasn't as bad as it could have been. The beam that fell on me must have been propped up by something, so it didn't actually crush me. However, a falling tile hit my head, and it's bleeding. My foot was also struck by debris. It hurts, but nothing seems broken. Gritting my teeth against the pain of my injuries, I mustered every ounce of strength to push against the heavy beam. The beam was incredibly heavy. I was just a petite girl, barely weighing 80 pounds, and my strength was no match for it. I couldn't budge it at all. Just as I was on the verge of giving up in despair, a man, his head also caked in blood and dust, emerged from the rubble not far away. He stood up and shook the dust from his clothes. I was afraid of owing someone a favor like I did in my past life, so I didn't call for help. I just gritted my teeth and tried to save myself. The man turned his head and saw me. He walked over and was about to help me move the beam when I stopped him, saying, "Thank you, but I don't need your help." His face, smeared with blood and dust, registered a moment of surprise before he caught on and said with a laugh, "Don't worry, I'm not going to demand you marry me in return for the favor." Those words pierced my heart like an awl, sending a chill down my spine. No, I refused to be indebted to anyone. Holding my breath, I gave a hard shove. I actually managed to shove that incredibly heavy beam out of the way. It's true what they say, when you're backed into a corner, you find strength you never knew you had. Sick. The guy gave me a thumbs up. You just showed me what it looks like when a delicate beauty uproots a willow tree with her bare hands. I ignored him, pulling myself free from the wreckage and shaking off the rubble and dust. My foot was a bit injured, so I could only sit. I glanced over at Soo-jun on the other side. He had already dug his mother out of the ruins. His mother's legs must have been crushed. They were a bloody mess. "Mom, don't be scared. I'll carry you to the hospital right now. Your legs will be okay." While comforting his mother, who was wailing in pain, Soo-jun bent down and hoisted her onto his back. As he passed by me, he shot me a slightly surprised glance before hurrying away. Watching their retreating figures, I felt a wave of immense relief. In this lifetime, I would have no further connection with them or their family. 3. Shall I help you to the hospital? The man looked at my bleeding foot and reached out to help me. Thanks, but I'm fine. I pushed his hand away, holding my bleeding head, and waited until the rescue team and ambulance arrived. The rescue team loaded both of us into the same ambulance. After arriving at the hospital, we were even placed in the same room. I don't quite understand why you're guarding against me as if I were a thief, the man asked me, utterly perplexed. Did we have some misunderstanding before? No, I replied flatly. It's just that I don't want to owe anyone a favor. I'm afraid I won't be able to repay it, the man muttered. It's just a small kindness in a time of disaster. What's there to repay? I gave a bitter, inward smile. In my past life, it was precisely this kind of small kindness that cost me my entire life. And even my parents' peaceful and comfortable old age. Yes, my parents. The thought that they were still alive and well filled me with emotion. Just as I was about to ask the nurse to borrow a phone to call them, I saw my mom and dad push the door open, their faces etched with worry. Seeing my parents, who were only in their 50s, my eyes welled up with tears in an instant. In my past life, I truly owed them far too much. After their passing, they even sold their property to continue supporting the Soo family. Manju, are you alright? With a choked voice, my mother grasped my hand, her eyes filled with tender concern as she looked at me. I quickly replied, "It's nothing, just some scrapes and a sprained ankle. I'll be fine after a bit of rest." "Thank goodness you're alright. You gave us such a fright." My mother let out a sigh of relief and pulled me into her arms. Nestled in my mother's long mist, warm embrace, I began to cry once more. In this life, I must not let my parents suffer because of me again. I must take good care of them and ensure they enjoy a peaceful retirement. "Uncle Lou, Aunt Shu, is she your daughter?" The man beside them spoke up again. My parents turned to look, their faces registering surprise. Mom exclaimed, "Chin Tian, you're hurt too." Chin Tian shrugged helplessly. "I just happened to be at the building collapse site." Mom asked with concern, "Are you alright?" "I'm fine, just a scratch. Thank heavens, you're all safe and sound." Mom let out another sigh of relief and said to me, "Manju, this is Chin Tian, the son of your father's comrade in arms, Uncle Chin. He just returned from abroad not long ago. Our parents had been meaning to arrange a meeting for you too. But who would have thought you'd become fellow survivors first? Hearing this, a vague memory stirred within me. In my previous life, after the earthquake, my parents mentioned wanting to set me up on a blind date with someone named Chin Tian. Back then, out of gratitude for Su Jun saving my life, I was busy helping him care for his mother in the hospital and turned down all the blind dates. After being emotionally manipulated by his entire family, I ended up in a whirlwind marriage with him. Still in a daze, for, with the blood and grime washed from his face, Chin Tian's features were sharp and distinct, handsome and rugged, exactly my type, but, mentally, I'm already in my 40s. After enduring that dreadful marriage and family life with the Su family in my past life, I've long since lost any illusions or expectations about men, so, no matter how handsome he is, it's got nothing to do with me. In this life, I just want to spend quality time with my parents, focus wholeheartedly on my career, and simply bask in the sunshine of freedom. No one is going to lock me in the cage of marriage. I gave Chin Tian the cold shoulder, yet, he was all warmth and attentiveness toward me, acting almost like a boyfriend. I've told him point blank, more than once, not to waste his time and energy on me. I'm just not interested in men, but I'm very interested in you and willing to invest my time in you, rather than backing down in the face of difficulty. Chin Tian became even more persistent. It probably stirred up his desire to conquer. 5. Chin Tian wheeled me, with my foot still not healed and confined to a wheelchair, to the CT room for a scan. I ran into Su Jun right at the doorway. He was also pushing his mother, who was in a wheelchair. I couldn't help but glance at her leg, which was in a cast, looked like it was broken. I just wonder if she'll end up disabled like she did in my last life. I tried to pretend I didn't know him, but to my surprise, he suddenly let go of Su's mother's wheelchair, rushed forward, and pointed an angry finger at Chin Tian, demanding, "Who is he?" Before I could even answer, Chin Tian stepped forward and said, "I'm her boyfriend, and who are you? Where are your manners?" Su Jun was furious. He glared at me and shouted, "Lu Manju, how dare you cheat on me behind my back?" His outburst made everyone around us turn and stare, whispering and pointing in my direction. Having been conditioned by his emotional manipulation in my past life, I almost felt a pang of guilt. My face flushed red as I scrambled to explain myself. "You're insane." Those two words, delivered by Chin Tian with such force, snapped me out of it. Right, in this life, I have absolutely no connection to Su Jun. I immediately felt a surge of righteous indignation and said coldly, "Mr. Su, at most, we are merely colleagues who exchange nods. If you're not right in the head, go see a psychiatrist. Don't bother me." Su Jun's expression froze for a moment as he remembered he had been reborn 20 years into the past. At this point in time, Lu Manju was not yet his wife. Recalling her dull, withered appearance from his past life, her plain clothes and the stale smell of cooking oil and sweat that clung to her, he felt a sudden, secret wave of relief. In this life, he had no intention of marrying such a dreary, sallow-faced woman, especially one who couldn't even bear children. He was going straight to Kai Na to build a happy life with her. Even though my leg was crushed by the beam, the doctor said it was treated in time and should heal properly. I won't be left crippled. Sorry, my mind just went blank for a second. Su Jun apologized to me, but his eyes were filled with nothing but contempt and scorn. I had seen that look plenty of times in my past life. Whatever, anyway, I have nothing to do with him anymore. Still, I had to give him a taste of his own medicine. I shot him a contemptuous glare and said coldly, "You're insane." Su Jun's face tightened with restraint, but he didn't lash out. He just wheeled his mother away. The tension in my spine finally eased. I looked up, my gaze met Chin Tian's, his eyes thoughtful and fixed on me. Flustered, I quickly lowered my head to avoid his stare. 6. Not wanting to run into Su Jun at the hospital again, and with the test results showing no major issues like fractures or broken bones, I quickly went through the discharge procedures. Since my parents deliberately didn't show up, I had no choice but to rely on Chin Tian to take me home. I was waiting for Chin Tian in my wheelchair at the hospital entrance when I spotted Su Haiqing, my sister-in-law from my previous life. The moment she saw me, she walked over, held out her hand, and said, "Give me $200. I need to buy a tracksuit." So, she's been reborn too. She still thinks I'm her pushover sister-in-law. At her beck and call, "Are you out of your mind, kid? Do I know you?" I pretended not to know her, my face cold, and snapped at her irritably. Su Haiqing was taken aback, staring at me with a look of utter disbelief. In my past life, I had always been tolerant in the face of her willful, unreasonable, and harsh criticism, never retorting in anger, because it was my fault that she, barely in her teens, was deprived of the care of a healthy, normal mother. Therefore, I had to step in as a substitute for her mother, to care for her and show her forbearance. Su Haiqing seemed to realize something, looking at me with deep suspicion. You don't know me. No, I don't. What about Su Jun? He's my brother. Aren't you married to him yet? Are you out of your mind? Why on earth would I marry your brother? I'd barely exchanged 2 words with him. Listen, I have a boyfriend. Please don't spout such nonsense in front of me again. I spotted Qin Tian's car approaching and quickly waved my hand, even though I didn't want to get involved with Qin Tian either. To shake off the Su family's pestering, he had to become my pawn. Qin Tian got out of the car and walked over to me. Su Haiqing's eyes went wide with infatuation at the sight of the handsome Qin Tian, practically drooling. Just as Qin Tian bent down to pick me up, Su Haiqing stopped him. Don't you know she's going to be my sister-in-law? Qin Tian shot her a cold glance and repeated the same 2 words. You're insane. It's true, she really will be. And she's like a barren hen. Even if she gets pregnant, she'll miscarry. She'll end up with breast cancer. 2. You'll be at a huge disadvantage if you stay with her. Su Haiqing grabbed Qin Tian's arm anxiously, batting her heavily lined dead fish eyes and giving him a coquettish look. Handsome, look at me. I'm younger, prettier, and I can bear children just fine, Qin Tian said coldly. I suggest you go over to the fountain. Su Haiqing's face lit up with delight. You want me to wait for you there? Confessing our feelings by the fountain is so romantic. The fountain has water. You can use it as a mirror to see how ugly you are. Qin Tian's merciless verbal jab made Su Haiqing's face flush with a mix of anger and humiliation. She then turned her scorned fury on me. Lu Manju, did you say something about me to him? I rolled my eyes at her. Are you insane? I don't even know who you are. You're not that important for me to go out of my way to talk about you in front of others. How dare you insult me? I'll have my brother beat you to a pulp. Su Haiqing jumped up in a furious rage. That's exactly how she was in my past life. If I don't give her exactly what she wants, she threatens to have her brother beat me up, or she'll flip the table right in front of me. Right now, I really want to slap her, but I'm afraid she'll make a false accusation against me, so I have to hold back. 7. Smack. I never expected Qin Tian to actually make a move. He slapped Su Haiqing across the mouth, asking for a beating. Who the hell does your brother think he is? How dare he lay a hand on my girlfriend? You hit me. You dare hit me. Lu Manju, you bitch, just wait until you marry my brother. I will make you pay for this. Su Haiqing covered her reddened cheek, glaring at me with pure hatred. Well, isn't that just hilarious? I wasn't the one who hit her, so why am I being blamed for it? But then, that's always been the Su family's way of doing things. Every bit of misfortune in this family is apparently my fault. Smack. Qin Tian slapped him again and said coldly, if you dare disrespect my girlfriend again, I'll make sure your whole family is finished in the Su clan. Su Haiqing was intimidated, but asked weakly and resentfully, who do you think you are, talking so big? The Qin family of Jiangqing. Come at me if you dare. After saying that coldly, Qin Tian picked me up and placed me in the passenger seat, then gently helped me fasten the seatbelt, looking at his face so close to mine, gentle and handsome. My heart fluttered as if brushed by a feather, a strange and sudden palpitation. In my past life, after I married Su Jun, he never treated me with any tenderness. He treated me like a maid. Even when I had a high fever of 40 degrees, he refused to get me a glass of water. Once, in the middle of the night, I had acute appendicitis. I went to the hospital alone, gritting my teeth through the pain. I passed out on the way. It was a kind taxi driver who took me to the emergency room and even helped me with the admission paperwork. Looking back now, I realize I was completely manipulated and made a fool of. I never begged Su Jun to save me. Why should I feel this overwhelming moral debt to his entire family, enough to sacrifice my whole life for it? Don't you think those 2 siblings are strange? I couldn't help but ask Qin Tian, who was acting as if nothing was wrong. Qin Tian replied flatly. There are plenty of weirdos in the world, nothing strange about it. I didn't say anything more. I certainly wasn't going to tell him I was reborn. No need to invite unnecessary trouble. Qin Tian dropped me off at my front door. Looking at the familiar door, I couldn't help but feel my eyes welling up. In my past life, Su Jun had pressured me to sell this place, and the new home we bought with the money. He ended up letting his mistress and her family live in it. My parents warmly invited Qin Tian inside, insisting he stay for a meal before leaving. Qin Tian didn't refuse at all. he very naturally went to the kitchen to help pick and wash vegetables, making my mother laugh with a sound like tinkling silver bells. After the meal, he even helped with the dishes. After washing up, he then kept my father company for a game of chess. After he left, my parents held my hands, clearly pleased. Juju, Qin Tian is really a great catch. He comes from a good family, has an excellent education, and is a company vice president. If it weren't for your father's old army ties with his dad, you'd be hard-pressed to find a man this good even if you searched with a lantern. I have to admit, Qin Tian's performance was quite impressive, but I can't just jump out of one pit and rush headlong into another. I shook my head. Mom, Dad, I'm only 23. I want to spend more time with you and focus on building my career. As for marriage, I'm not considering it for the time being. Alright, whatever you say. To my surprise, Mom agreed readily and didn't press me about marriage. You're a grown woman now. It's your life. Whatever you decide, sweetheart, I'll support you. Hearing that, I couldn't hold back my tears any longer and buried my face in my mother's embrace. In my past life, my foolishness brought nothing but trouble to my parents. I was in too deep with the Su family's manipulation, so they had no choice but to support me unconditionally and find ways to lighten my load. 8. After my foot injury healed, I returned to the office, the familiar cubicle, the familiar work, but the faces around me were younger now. As soon as a colleague nearby saw me, they immediately leaned in and said in a hushed, secretive tone, Manju, did you hear? Su Jun from our company won 5 million in the lotto and quit his job right away. How enviable. I didn't know that. I put on a calm front, but inwardly, I was a bit stunned. I'm surprised Su Jun can still remember the lotto numbers. In his previous life, he was also fond of buying lottery tickets, dreaming of striking it rich, though the most he ever won was 5,000 yuan. I've never bought a lottery ticket, but Su Jun's success as a reincarnator served as a wake-up call for me. It's 2009, the very year Bitcoin launched. A single Bitcoin is only worth $1, or about 6 Chinese yuan. I immediately searched for a Bitcoin exchange, found someone selling 10,000 Bitcoins, and snapped them up. By 2024, this thing's price had skyrocketed, with one Bitcoin peaking at over 670,000 yuan. If I cash out at the right time, I could become a billionaire overnight. With no one else selling Bitcoin, I poured my entire life savings of 200,000 into a mythical tech stock that's set to quintuple in value over the next 3 years. Now I'm just sitting back, waiting for the payoff. After doing all that, I threw myself into my work. Lu Manju, our department needs to send someone to the U.S. headquarters for a month of training. After management's discussion, we've decided it should be you. What do you think? After reviewing the spreadsheet I had compiled using 2 decades of experience from my past life, the finance manager looked at me with satisfaction. I nodded eagerly. I'm willing. In my previous life, I had the same opportunity at this very moment, but back then, I turned it down to take care of Mother Su. Since fate has given me this second chance, I'm going to be true to myself. As I left the office, I saw Su Jun packing up his things after resigning. He stopped me and said smugly, Lu Manju, from now on, I'll be out of your league. Oh, I gave a nonchalant reply. I couldn't stand the sight of him for another second. Lu Manju, what's with this attitude? Do you have any idea that losing me is the biggest mistake you'll ever make? My attitude infuriated Su Jun, who started shouting, drawing the curious stares of onlookers. Are you insane? I don't even know you. What do I care if you're rolling in money? I finished coldly and walked away. I'm rather curious to see just how far he'll go in this life. 9. I said goodbye to my parents and boarded the flight to the company's U.S. headquarters. The month of training was incredibly enriching. Leveraging the 20 years of extra work experience from my rebirth and my software optimizations, I performed exceptionally well. I was personally commended by the CEO and directly promoted to Vice President of Finance, with an annual salary of 500,000. In my previous life, this was something I only dared to dream about. I can't believe I achieved it so effortlessly in this lifetime. After returning to China, I continued to work diligently and conscientiously, optimizing the company's entire financial management system. A headhunter offered me a position with an annual salary of $1 million to poach me. Remembering my roots, I chose to stay and remain with the company. Of course, it's also out of sheer pettiness. I want to throw it back in the faces of all those who looked down on me in my past life. In this life, I will become their superior. I'll pay them back in kind, returning every single thing they did and said to me. 10. I thought my paths would never cross with Su Jun's again, so I was surprised to run into him. he was being chased down the street by a few debt collectors. When he saw me, he immediately scrambled over, clung to my leg, and begged, "Honey, please help me pay off my debts, I'll love you forever, get lost." I shoved him away with my foot. "Who's your wife?" "You're his wife." "Then you're on the hook for his debt. He owes us 500 grand. The lead man, with a scar on his face, snarled at me. "She's my wife. Whoever owes you money, you go after them." Before I could even speak, Chin Tian suddenly appeared out of nowhere and stood beside me, saying, "So it's young Master Chin's woman. My apologies, my apologies, I meant no offense." After the scar-faced man groveled an apology to Chin Tian, he pinned Su Jun under his foot and started beating him. "Save me, Manju, save me." Su Jun let out a wail of despair, without so much as a glance in his direction. I turned and walked away with Chin Tian. "So tell me," he said, "when are you finally going to agree to be my girlfriend?" Chin Tian asked, his gaze burning with intensity as he looked at me. I averted my gaze and replied flatly, 5 years, I'll think about it once I've made something of myself." Chin Tian didn't hesitate for a second. "I'll wait," looking at his sincere, sunny, handsome face. "I'd be lying if I said my heart wasn't moved, but I won't be that foolish again, as a woman. You can't just chase after fleeting affection from others. True freedom comes from being independent and self-reliant." 11. A colleague who lives near Su Jun was gossiping to me again. They said that even though Su Jun won 5 million in the lottery, he got caught in an online romance scam. Not only was the 5 million swindled away, but he also took out hundreds of thousands in high-interest loans. The family's small house was mortgaged. And now all 4 of them are stuck living in the cheapest rental they could find. The strange thing is, my colleague hesitated before saying, "Su Jun often blames his mother, saying it's all her fault that he didn't save you back then. He says if he had saved you first, he could have made you serve him like a slave for the rest of your life." That's a really odd thing to say. You weren't even seriously hurt in that earthquake. Could he really have expected you to pledge yourself to him in gratitude, to be indebted to him forever? No one could be that foolish, right? I gave a bitter smile. Yes, in my past life, I was exactly that foolish. Thankfully, I got a second chance at life. 12. To avoid the unnecessary trouble of Su Jun showing up to harass me, I bought a large house and moved in with my family of 3. My father was diagnosed with early-stage lung adenocarcinoma. He underwent surgery promptly and has since made a full recovery. As for my own breasts, free from the emotional blockages of my past life, they are perfectly healthy. My stock portfolio multiplied 100-fold, and I cashed out for 200 million. I resigned from my company, assembled a team, and founded an AI company to develop a smart assistant destined to be a future hit. Seizing the advantages of a reincarnator, the company's growth has been faster than I ever imagined. In less than 3 years, the company has grown into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, securing a place among China's leading tech firms. As for the Su family, I sometimes can't help my curiosity and still look into how they're doing. Su Jun is up to his neck in debt, yet he's still glued to video games and refuses to get a job. His mother yelled at him and yanked out his internet cable. Enraged, he picked up a dumbbell and brutally smashed his mother's legs, breaking them. The Su family couldn't afford proper treatment, so they just applied some traditional Chinese herbal poultices. This led to a severe infection, the bones rotted, and in the end, amputation was the only option. They couldn't even afford a wheelchair, so she had to drag her crippled legs and walk on her hands. Su Haiqing couldn't afford to finish high school either, so she had to drop out and look for work. She met a guy who claimed to be a rich second-generation heir, only to be tricked and trafficked to northern Myanmar, where all contact was lost. With no real job skills, Su's father could only eke out a living by squatting on busy street corners, polishing shoes for passers-by. As for Su Jun, he went to find Kai Na, the woman from his past life who bore his children and swore she loved him. She just spat at him a few times and told him he was delusional, and then he truly lost his mind. He became a ragged, wandering madman on the streets, telling anyone who would listen that the tech queen was supposed to be his wife, and that he should have been worth tens of billions. In this life, he can only dream. I am who I am, not anyone's wife. As for Chin Tian, who never gave up on me, we're now living together. We have an agreement to live together without getting married, free from marital obligations and responsibilities to each other's families. I have money, a career, freedom, and a compatible life partner. Perfect. That's the end of the first story. Don't go away, the next one is even more exciting. Last month, my mother broke her leg. While I was at her place making lotus root and pork rib soup for her, my husband happened to call. He said it made his mouth water just hearing about it, so I set aside 2 sprigs of cilantro from the extra bunch I'd bought, thinking I'd go back tomorrow, get some more ribs, and make a pot for him too. My mother shot me a sharp look the moment she saw this, even 2 sprigs of cilantro. She has to take them from her parents' home. I really did raise a daughter who's an expert at mooching off her family, and the real kicker is, I was the one who paid for all the groceries in the first place. I was left speechless, just staring at her. She went on, her voice dripping with resentment. What are you looking at me for? Was I wrong? Just yesterday you brought home rolls of toilet paper from your parents' house. And today it's cilantro. Is there anything you don't take from there? I was the one who bought that toilet paper. I bought 2 big packs on the way over because we were running out at home too. I figured one for each household, but as soon as I arrived, my mom had my sister-in-law take 1 pack, and she kept the other for herself. I needed it at home in a hurry. That's why I opened a pack and took 2 rolls. You ungrateful girl, you're such a disappointment. You're nothing like your brother and sister-in-law. They would never dream of taking a single penny from me or your father without us practically forcing it on them. Exactly. Every time I bring something back from my parents, you end up shoving 80% of it at them. They don't need to ask for a thing. Even their precious son, my 18-year-old nephew, has his family payment card linked to my account. I have a $5,000 monthly limit, and I max it out every single month. After all the exhaustion from the past few days, getting scolded by my own mother like that was the last straw. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom, whether it was the toilet paper yesterday or the cilantro today, I paid for all of it and brought it back to this house. What's the big deal if I take a little for myself? Even hearing the tremor in my voice, she stubbornly held her ground and said, what's the big deal with what you bought? What kind of daughter takes back the things she brought to her parents' house? And you think you're in the right? Alright, just reflect on your own behavior. You're a grown adult, yet you're on the verge of tears over a few words. Hurry up and start cooking. Make a few extra dishes. Your brother and his wife will be here for dinner soon. From the day she broke her leg over a month ago until now, through the hospital stay, discharge, and everything in between, I've been the only one handling it all, both financially and physically. My brother and his wife used being busy with work as an excuse and didn't even show their faces at the hospital. Now that she's been discharged, I've been rushing back to my parents' house every evening to cook dinner for the whole family, after finishing up at my own shop during the day, and at this very moment, after tending to her tirelessly for over a month, my own mother greets me with such a cold, scathing lecture. A wave of utter exhaustion washed over me. I felt completely hollow inside and just wanted to walk away from it all. I turned off the simmering pork rib and lotus root soup, leaving all the washed and chopped vegetables on the cutting board untouched. Don't just take those 2 sprigs of cilantro, grab the whole bunch that's left. My husband and daughter both love cilantro. I grabbed my car keys, picked up my bag, and was about to head straight out. My mom grabbed the strap of my bag. Where do you think you're going? I pushed her hand away. You're the one who said I'm a freeloader and that I'm nowhere near as good as my brother and his wife. Your leg is 80% better now. Let them take care of the last 20% and fulfill their filial duty. I won't be coming back to take care of you anymore, and I certainly won't be taking anything from this house with me. My father slammed his hand down on the table with a loud smack. How dare you? Your own mother gives you a piece of her mind. And you have the nerve to throw a tantrum. Ever since we were kids, his favorite thing to do was to follow my mom around and chime in to scold me. There's no reasoning with him when I'm around. Dad, I'm not trying to defy the heavens. I'll just visit less often, stop being a financial burden, and stop taking things from home. I walked out the door without looking back. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, a mix of rage, hurt, and sheer frustration. Over 30 years of dutiful care and trying to please them, yet I still couldn't earn a single word of acknowledgement from their lips. My mother stood leaning on her cane in the doorway, scolding me. Get down here. You're not going anywhere. Your brother and his wife will be here any minute. Get inside and start cooking. Now, are you listening to me? I said you're not leaving. Who's going to make dinner if you go? What am I supposed to do when I need to get up in the middle of the night? Who's going to help me? My mother's booming voice left me dazed. I rolled down the car window. Get your husband to do it. Go find your son. Go find your daughter-in-law. Then I rolled the window back up. No matter what, I had to get out of there right then. Immediately, the term freeloading off one's parents was the final straw. When it came to the bond with my parents, my heart completely shattered. You heartless little wretch. My leg's not even fully healed yet. And you have the nerve to abandon your own mother and walk out on me. I just kept turning my bike around in the small courtyard, and when she saw she couldn't stop me, she yelled after me, Fine, go if you must, but leave that bunch of cilantro. Your sister-in-law needs it for steaming fish tomorrow at lunch, so that's what this is about. No wonder when I was grocery shopping today, I kept getting the feeling I should buy extra cilantro. The fish I bought a couple of days ago was taken by her. And now I even have to buy the cilantro for her to cook it with. Unbelievable. I have to ask myself, Mom, Dad, am I really your biological daughter? Sometimes I wish I was just a kid you found in a dumpster. It would make it so much easier to come to terms with everything I've been through. I hit the gas and sped out of the courtyard. In the rearview mirror, I saw my mom, her limp miraculously gone, waving her cane as she chased after my car. The cilantro, leave the cilantro. And then they even pulled out their phone and started filming me. This is mutiny, absolute mutiny. Come and look, all of you, come and see. After all I've done, I've raised a complete ingrate, too. Once I was out of the village, I wiped away my tears. I called my husband. Honey, I'm on my way home now. I miss you so much. He must have noticed the strain in my voice. But he didn't ask. After a thoughtful pause, he said, Okay, I miss you too. Drive carefully, no rush, safety first. Our daughter and I will be waiting for you at the entrance to our neighborhood. Hearing my husband say that, my eyes welled up with tears again. I murmured an hum and hung up the phone. After entering the county town, before I could even catch a glimpse of our neighborhood, I spotted my husband and daughter first. The two of them were holding hands. Having walked a short distance from the residential area, and were anxiously looking around in the direction I was coming from, my husband, in particular, had a slight frown on his face, his expression full of worry. Their expressions softened only when they caught sight of my car. My daughter's eyes lit up instantly, breaking into a beaming smile. I pulled the car over to the curb. How come you two walked so far from the neighborhood? We were just so happy to hear you were coming home. My husband said, opening my car door. Come on, get out. The moment I stepped out of the car, my daughter Yao Yao threw herself into my arms. Mommy, can you finally sleep at home tonight? Dad and I have missed you so much. Dad sleeps with your pillow every night, saying it still smells like you. I looked up at my husband, my eyes still rimmed with red. Under the streetlight, my husband slowly drew me into his embrace, his voice deep and gentle. My mother-in-law has never been one to mince words. Did she give you another earful? I leaned my head on my husband's shoulder and shook it, not wanting to dwell on it any longer, and said quietly, Honey, I'm so glad I have you. Our daughter snuggled between us. Mom, I'm here too. You still have me. I stroked my daughter's hair and nodded. That's right. I turned around, grabbed that bunch of cilantro from the passenger seat, and presented it to them triumphantly. Look what I managed to snag from my parents' place. I haven't had dinner yet. I'm starving. How about we go home and make some coriander, pork, and egg soup? Our daughter cheered first. Yes, that's my favorite. Dad and I barely ate anything for dinner. We just don't have much of an appetite when you're not home. My husband chimed in. All right, let's head home and I'll cook. Your mom has been working so hard taking care of your grandma. She deserves a proper rest tonight. My husband then looked at me. You and our daughter take the back seat. I'll drive us home. I had barely stepped through the door when my phone started ringing nonstop. I picked it up and saw it was my brother calling. He was furious from the very first word. Lin Xiaoyu, you've gone too far this time. Mom's leg is still injured, and you had the nerve to pick a fight with her. Your sister-in-law and I worked our tails off all day, came home exhausted. And there's not even a warm meal waiting for us. Instead, we have to clean up your mess. She's still in the kitchen cooking right now. I swear, you're getting more and more out of control. My husband couldn't take it anymore. With a stern face, he snatched my phone away. Bro, just talk it out properly. Xiaoyu has been working so hard taking care of Mom lately, and besides, I snatched it right back. Lin Chengkai, what do you take me for? Am I your family's live-in maid? Expected to have dinner ready on the table every night waiting for you all to come home. That's right, I'm the disappointment. I'm the wild, lawless one. Mom and Dad have you. The perfect son who's both responsible and doesn't leech off them or your sister. That's enough for them. Let's just keep our distance from now on. With that, I hung up the phone. 3. The calm I had just managed to find shattered, and a fresh wave of anger boiled up inside me. My husband hesitated, but finally asked, Honey, what on earth happened? I shook my head. It's nothing, really. My mom just accused me of being a freeloader. I got so upset that I left in the middle of cooking dinner and drove home in a huff. A freeloader. My husband was even a bit confused by the term. All these years, you've done nothing but send things and money back home. You're always on call to help out with your brother's family too. You can honestly say you've never taken a single penny from your parents. How could your mother say that about you? I gave a bitter smile. Yeah, I don't get it either. That's why the moment I heard her use that word to describe me, I just couldn't take it anymore. Honey, I'm sorry. It's all because you married me that you ended up with in-laws like this. My husband wiped the tears from the corner of my eye. Silly, you haven't let me down, and you certainly haven't let anyone else down. It's your own family. They're the ones who are too harsh on you. Too ungrateful. My daughter Yao Yao hugged me while wiping away my tears. Mom, why are Grandma and the others so mean to you? You've been so good to them. Aren't they supposed to be your closest family? That question really stumped me, though deep down, I already knew the answer. I suppose it's because they always favored your uncle, their son, over their daughter. But you're the one who's truly looked after them. Your uncle's whole family lives off your grandparents. While you're the one supporting them, you spend more on them each year than you do on our own family. I was at a loss for words. I just looked at my daughter, and thinking of every single person in my own family, my heart turned cold. Mom, it's okay, you still have me and Dad. From now on, we'll be closer than family to you. We'll always be good to you, and we'll always love you. Listening to my daughter's words, I nodded, my face already streaked with tears. Alright, Yao Yao. Your mom is still hungry, go sit on the sofa with her. Dad will make dinner. There was no peace to be had. The family group chat was already blowing up on my way back, and now practically everyone is at ING me. My mom posted a photo of my car's exhaust fumes in the family group, ranting and raving about how utterly ungrateful I am. She even claimed I laid hands on her, a sick woman, yanking her wrist so hard it hurt, and abandoned her, her own lame mother. I'm worse than all the ungrateful wretches in the whole village combined. My second uncle tagged me in the group chat. Xiaoyu, what kind of daughter acts like this? Apologize to your mother right now. My third uncle tagged me in the group chat. Our Lin family has never raised an ungrateful daughter. Are you trying to be the first? Apologize to your mother immediately. My sister-in-law played the peacemaker in the group chat. Alright. Second uncle, third uncle. Let's not scold our little sister anymore. Just forgive her this once. Next time, she just needs to avoid going against mom's wishes. My brother sided with his mother. Forgive her. No way. I think she's gotten a big head from making a bit of money these last couple of years. How dare she talk back to her own family? If she's so bold as to storm off in a huff, then she'd better never come back. Our Lin family doesn't want her either. Without her birth family to back her up, who does she think she is? It's hard for me to believe that in over 30 years of my life, my so-called birth family, my so-called parents, my so-called older brother, what kind of support have they ever really given me? When I was 7 and got bullied by a classmate, I ran crying to my brother for help. My brother, 5 years older, just slapped me across the face. He said I deserved it. From then on, I never dared to ask him to back me up again. When I was 9, my cousin who was 2 years older snatched my only 10 yuan New Year's money. I ran to my father in tears, hoping he'd stand up for me. My father shook my hand off. So he took it. So what? What does a little girl like you need New Year's money for anyway? It's just a waste. From then on, I never went to my father for support again. As for my mother, she was always the one to lecture me and order me around. I've been afraid of her since I was little, so I never went to her with my troubles, no matter how wronged I felt. My parents didn't contribute a single penny when I bought my house, nor when I bought my car. They didn't spend a cent on my wedding either. In fact, they even made a tidy profit from it. They kept all the wedding gift money, plus the entire 188,000 yuan bride price my husband gave. Even the few quilts and bedding sets that were part of my dowry, I had to pay for separately. With a family like this, parents and an elder brother like this, I've long since stopped feeling any attachment. It's just for the sake of that blood connection that I've been trying to keep up a facade of harmony. Well, since my brother has gone and said all that in the family group chat, I'm not backing down either. I replied right after his message with a single word, fine. Since the Lin family neither welcomes me nor thinks much of me, I won't be going back there anymore. My apologies to all my uncles as well. After saying that, I left the family group chat on my own accord. 4. I finally managed to eat a few bites of dinner in peace. His boss called, so my husband went out to the balcony and spoke to him in a soft, respectful tone for quite a while. His every word was a polite but reluctant refusal. Then, his father, who lives far away in Zhushi, called, and my husband had to spend another while calming him down. I know, had he not met me, he would never have been confined to this small, provincial town. He was originally sent here for a brief assignment, a temporary stint. It was I, with my family as a burden, who shackled his wings with invisible chains. He should have had the whole world before him, a future of boundless promise. I gazed at him with burning intensity. I remembered our first meeting. He had the fair complexion of a scholar, yet carried himself with a maturity beyond his years, as steady and solid as a mountain. I was only 19 that year, renting a small, 10-square-meter shop in a remote location, running a local delivery service. In the pouring rain, I was drenched to the bone. An hour late, I finally delivered the goods to his door. I put on a cheeky grin and bowed an apology, terrified he'd cancel the order and refuse to pay. Ever since, I've always thought of myself that day as utterly awkward and humiliating. But my husband said that on that day, I was like a pearl buried in the mud, glowing with a radiant halo, so full of life, so unrestrained and free. With just one look, he was smitten. And this man, he has always put me first. He left his hometown and has now lived in a once unfamiliar small town for over a decade. My birth family is not my support or my concern, it's my quagmire. I can finally admit this to myself. For now, I just want to do this one thing for my husband. Honey, what if we sold this house and moved the whole family back to Jusher? My husband's hands, busy clearing the dishes, stilled for a moment. A flicker of hope seemed to pass through his eyes, but he quickly suppressed it. Honey, about that call, don't worry about it. It was just the city office checking in with me about a position that's opened up. You and our daughter are my whole world. My job is just a way to pay the bills. It doesn't matter where I do it. No, it's not the same. It's completely different, and I know it. I said with conviction, this is my husband's career. And for my sake, it's been at a standstill for over a decade. Darling, I'm completely serious. Let's go back to Jusher. Yao Yao is transitioning to middle school now. Whether we stay in the county town or go back to Jusher, she'll have to adjust to a new school and new classmates. It's actually a good time for a transfer. My husband looked at me thoughtfully. Honey, are you really sure about this? Jusher is so far away. We won't be able to see your brother and my parents very often anymore. Isn't that perfect? You know exactly how they feel about me. Do you really, genuinely want me to see them often? Of course, I'd prefer you see them less, but they are your family after all. My palms were slightly sweaty, a sign of relief and ease. Darling, my mind is made up. Let's list the house with an agent tomorrow. My husband smiled at me, his eyes sparkling. Okay, 5. Our daughter was even more excited than us, spinning in circles in her pajamas. That's wonderful. I miss Grandpa and Grandma so much. And soon I'll get to live with them all the time. It's no wonder Yao Yao prefers her paternal grandparents, whom she only sees once or twice a year, over her maternal grandparents whom she sees regularly. After all, ever since she was born, the lucky money she's received from her maternal grandparents has always been a measly 20 yuan, yet the lucky money they give to their own eldest grandson is 500, or even 800 to 1,000 yuan. They did this right in front of me, my husband, and Yao Yao, showing favoritism every single time. Yet, the red envelope money from Grandpa and Grandma for Yao Yao was 10,000, and that was 10,000 from each of them. When she was born, they even gave 100,000, saying they were saving it for Yao Yao in advance, for her future security or dowry. Mom, can we really go back to Jusher to live with Grandpa and Grandma, and never come back? But what about your shop? Haven't you always cared so much about your store? I gently tapped my daughter's nose and said, my sweet, silly girl, Mom runs an online store. All the orders are shipped directly from the factory. I'm just a middleman making a small margin. It doesn't matter which city we live in. As for that little local delivery shop, it's backbreaking work for next to no profit. Your father's been wanting me to quit for ages. Closing it is for the best. The lease is up for renewal at the end of the month anyway, so we just won't renew it. Time to shut it down for good. It's actually quite liberating to think about it. I've held on for so long, probably because I always saw this as my own path, my own way forward. The family of 3 was feeling content and happy about their decision to return to Jusher. My nephew, Lin DeBeo, sent me another message. Auntie, I don't mean to be harsh, but you really went too far today. How could you lay a hand on my grandma? Even if Grandma says a few harsh words to you, she's still your own mother. You can't talk back or resist when she scolds you. That's just how it's always been, isn't it? What's gotten into you today? You're acting like you've lost your mind. Your attitude has done a complete 180. My mom had to come home from work and make dinner. She was already in a terrible mood, and then she got into a huge fight with my dad after coming back from Grandma's place. You've turned our whole house upside down, and on top of that, you said such heartless things in the family group chat and then left it. How can you cause such a rift with your own parents and your own older brother? Grandma wasn't wrong about you. This is the height of filial impiety. Auntie, you know I've always been on your side. You really need to take a good look at yourself. I'm only saying this for your own good. I almost forgot about that ungrateful little wretch. I've footed the bill for practically everything in his life since he was born. Whenever there's any kind of conflict with her family, she puts on a gentle front with me. But her words always subtly favor the interests of her parents. Herself, and her grandparents. I'm nothing but a glorified punching bag and cash cow. It makes my blood boil. Shut down the family-linked card I set up for him. It's only the beginning of the month, and he's already burned through more than half the limit. Cut off the phone bill autopay. Cut off the utility bill autopay for my parents' house. Everything. Cut it all off. I didn't reply for a moment, and he sent another message. Auntie, just to be clear, if you're mad at my dad or my grandparents, that's got nothing to do with me. Okay, our aunt-nephew bond is forever. Heart you. By the way, Auntie, you know I have a girlfriend. She saw a bag today that costs over 10,000. If I don't buy it for her, she'll break up with me. The 5,000 you gave me is nowhere near enough. I took her out for a few meals and it's almost gone. Can you send me some more? 10,000 would do the trick. Hurry up, I need it urgently. Listen to that, just listen, the sheer audacity. Even a junior like him takes me for a sucker as a matter of course. That 5,000 credit limit, I certainly didn't offer it willingly. It all started when my mother found out her good-for-nothing grandson, who loafs around the streets all day, actually got himself a girlfriend. She threw a huge fit, crying and carrying on, insisting I bankroll his living expenses for the next few years until he marries the girl. She claimed my brother and sister-in-law couldn't afford it, and that if I, his own aunt, didn't step in, her precious grandson would end up a lifelong bachelor. All the neighbors gathered to watch the spectacle as she made a scene in the courtyard, completely losing her dignity. I had no choice. I was backed into a corner and had to agree. It's not that I can't afford 5,000 a month, it's just that I really don't want to. Now, I don't want to give a single cent. Suppressing my frustration, I replied to him. You are your grandparents' grandson, your father's son. If I break with them, I break with you. From now on, if you need money, go ask your grandparents, go ask your parents. If you come to me again, don't blame me for blocking you. I'm just your aunt. Get this straight. I'm just an aunt who married out of the family. I didn't give birth to you. I have no obligation to fund your dating life, let alone help you get a wife. 6. Fine, Lin Xiaoyu, you're really something. He replied to me through gritted teeth. This is the nephew I've genuinely loved and cherished for 18 years, just like his grandparents. All he wants is to milk me for money. He doesn't care one bit about so-called family ties. The next morning, my husband went to his office to submit the transfer paperwork. When it came to the posting back to Zhushir, he was clearly happier about it than anyone. I had meticulously organized all the relevant materials the night before, and now it was just a matter of waiting for the higher-ups to approve them. I was putting up a closed-for-business notice on my little brick-and-mortar shop and listing the property with a real estate agent when my nephew, Lin DeBeo, called in a frantic hurry. What kind of urgent business could he possibly have? I hung up. A frantic message came hot on its heels. Lin Xiaoyu, you actually cut off my family plan card. How could you do this? My phone bill payment failed this morning, and now my girlfriend can't even reach me to top it up for me. Fine, you wouldn't send me money for that 10,000 yuan bag. But then I tried to buy her a dress at the mall to make it up to her and my payment got declined. Do you have any idea how those salespeople looked at me? Do you know how utterly humiliated I was back there? My girlfriend stormed off. I'm going straight to grandma's to tell her everything. This isn't over. Let her run off if she wants. Let her go tattle to whoever she pleases. I turned off my phone, couldn't be bothered with him, and went back to discussing the urgent sale of the house with the real estate agent. Once I leave this small town with my daughter and husband, none of you will ever find me again. I'm done dealing with all the drama and the toxic people from my side of the family. I had just gotten home from the agents when my mom called. No doubt about Lin DeBeo, so I picked up. Her voice trembled with rage. Lin Xiaoyu, I order you, top up DeBeo's family card right now. If he loses his girlfriend because of this, I'll disown you as my daughter. I replied calmly. Fine. To be honest, I'm not too keen on having you as my mother anymore. After hanging up the phone, I felt no sadness, no disappointment, just a profound sense of clarity within. Now I know exactly what I want and what I don't, what I should cherish, and what I should let go of. I turned off my phone and enjoyed an afternoon of blessed peace and quiet. This afternoon, I'll organize the online store orders and follow up with the factory to ship them out one by one. I'm heading to the market to buy pork ribs, cilantro, and other ingredients, along with some fresh produce, meat, and fruit. Tonight, I'm going to cook a hearty dinner for my husband and daughter. For over a month now, I've been devotedly caring for my mother back at my parents' home. Over the past decade or so of marriage, I've always been on call for my family's needs, offering help and support whenever asked, but in doing so, I've truly neglected my husband and daughter far too much. It won't happen again. From now on, they are my center and my everything. My husband's transfer and our daughter's school transfer both went very smoothly. Even our house, which was only listed with the agent for 5 days, found a decisive buyer. After all, it's a great location in a top school district, priced to sell quickly, and comes fully furnished and ready to move in. On the day we signed the contract, the buyer agreed that we could have the place cleared out within a week. Both parties were very satisfied and happy with the deal. Right after signing the contract, I saw a message from my sister-in-law. Little sister, are you still upset with me? Since I married into this family, I've never once raised my voice at you. You're not going to give me the cold shoulder too, are you? If anyone in the Lin family is going to be the bad guy, my mom, my dad, my brother, even Lin DeBeo, there are plenty of candidates. It certainly wouldn't be her turn to have a falling out with me. I was silent for a moment, then replied, did you need something? Sister-in-law, you replied, so I guess you're not mad anymore. That's good, we're family, after all. No hard feelings should last the night. Don't take it to heart that your brother has a short fuse. I've talked to Mom too. She shouldn't have spoken to you like that, but you acted pretty rashly as well. Anyway, let's just put all this behind us, okay? After more than a decade, I've come to understand her. Sis, if there's something on your mind, just say it straight out. Alright, I'll get straight to the point. About DeBeo's family allowance card. Could you top it up for him again? You know he has no education and no job. He's finally managed to get a girlfriend. What if she leaves him and no one else will have him? These young girls nowadays spend way too much money when they're dating. The little money your brother and I make can't possibly cover it. Look, you earn a good living. This amount wouldn't make a difference to you, right? The money I earn is my money. The son is yours. She never seems to consider that. I'm sorry, sis-in-law, but the family allowance card is deactivated for good. I won't be reactivating it for DeBeo. He's an adult now. Since he has a girlfriend, he should be focusing on finding a steady job and working hard. The girl will only stick around if she sees he has the means to provide for a family in the future. Don't you agree, sis-in-law? Alright, I can see you're still upset with DeBeo. Let's put a pin in this for now. DeBeo spent the last few days bending over backwards to win that girl back. It even got her parents involved. They said they want to come over tomorrow to meet with us, the parents, to have a talk before deciding whether to let their daughter keep seeing DeBeo. Hey sis, we're meeting at your place tomorrow. It's their first time visiting, so make sure you get everything ready. Your in-laws are coming to visit, but at my house. And you want me to prepare? 7. Wait, sis. That doesn't sound right, does it? I was absolutely floored by what she said next. Her parents are coming to meet their future in-laws, to talk with you and my brother. I'm just the aunt. What's the point of them coming to my place? Your place is so impressive, the neighborhood is nice, and the apartment is beautifully decorated. When that family sees it, they'll probably want to arrange the engagement with our DeBeo right on the spot. Speaking of which, don't blame your sister-in-law for holding a grudge. Look at you, living so well and so capable, while your own brother is stuck in the village, barely scraping by. How does that look? Let's not dwell on the past. DeBeo has a girlfriend now, so it's time to buy a wedding apartment. As his aunt, you have to step up. Your complex seems perfect. Find a unit for him. We're not asking for the full amount, but at least cover the down payment. Your brother and I haven't managed to save much. The old saying really holds true. Birds of a feather flock together. This daughter-in-law they brought home is cut from the same cloth as my parents, thick-skinned as a city wall. Only me, the daughter who's been ground down since childhood, keeps clinging desperately to them, even though I'm clearly shut out. As for her complaining about how shabbily she and my brother lived in the countryside, my husband and I have certainly given them plenty of support over the years. My husband even pulled some strings to get my brother a cushy, low-effort job, but my brother turned it down flat, complaining it wasn't a proper full-time position and the pay was too low. He even had the nerve to blame my husband for not trying hard enough, accusing him of making empty promises, and threw a tantrum over it. He never stops to think. He's practically illiterate, has no skills, and is just plain lazy. It's not like my husband is some all-powerful god who can just waltz him into any top-tier company. When he goes out to work with the crew foreman, others make 200 or 300 a day, but he slacks off and barely scrapes together 80. This is the perfect son my mother worships like a deity all day long. I am absolutely fed up with dealing with my birth family, sister-in-law. Let me be perfectly clear. You raise your own child, you deal with his problems. Lynn DeBeo buying a wedding apartment has nothing to do with me. A married daughter is like spilled water. That's the phrase my brother loves to repeat. I'm just a relative now. As for your in-laws coming over for a meal, I can't host them either. You'll have to handle it yourselves. I've sold the house. This place isn't mine anymore. My sister-in-law was furious, little sister, to turn me down. You'd even stoop to lying about selling your house, if you sold it. Where would your family sleep? On the street. Besides, how could you possibly sell it in just a few days? Who said anything about the street? I'll go stay with my in-laws. Well then, let me be perfectly clear. Tomorrow, I'm bringing that little girl and her family over to your place for dinner. This is a decision made by your parents, your brother, and the whole family. Whether you like it or not, you will host them. Prepare some good food and drinks. And don't you dare embarrass the Lin family. I must really owe them, every single one of them. I guess I'll be paying off this debt for the rest of my life, won't I? Fine, if that's how you want to play it. Don't blame me for being ruthless. Honey, let's pack our things right now. We'll leave tonight and drive straight back to Zhuhai. It's only an 8-hour drive. We can take turns at the wheel and cross the Zhuhai border by dawn. My husband took my hand, holding it in his to soothe me. Darling, you need to think this through. It's a very impulsive move. If they really come tomorrow and find no one here, we might as well be considered enemies the next time we meet. I leaned against my husband's shoulder, and my indignation eased considerably. Honey, I have thought it through. This isn't an impulsive decision. Becoming enemies is fine by me. They're a bottomless pit. I'm done supporting them while never hearing a single word of appreciation from their mouths. Alright then, as long as my wife is sure, that's what matters. I truly can't bear to see you humiliated in front of them again. In that case, let's start packing right now. To be honest, I'm already itching to get home. Let's go. Immediately. 8. They must think that my silence means I've tacitly agreed to host their whole gang tomorrow. Auntie, what's the point of all this resistance? You'll end up doing as you're told anyway. Look, these are all my girlfriend's favorite dishes. I want every single one of them prepared, not a single one missing. If my girlfriend enjoys her meal tomorrow and her parents agree to let us stay together, then I'll talk to my grandma and dad about forgiving you for your recent lack of filial piety, you piece of trash. I'll prepare your mother. Alright, blocked, straight to the block list. We packed everything we were taking into the trunk, and simply left behind what we couldn't carry. I placed the last key the new owner had given me on the shoe rack by the inner door, and shut it for the final time. Just like that, the house was no longer any concern of ours. It was already 8:30 in the evening when my mother called me again. After tonight, it'll be a very, very long time before I see her again. I'll just answer her call one more time. Why is the village electrician here tonight to collect the bill? You wretched girl. Don't tell me you dared to cut off your own parents' utilities. Pay it now. He's still waiting in the house. Money again. Every single time they contact me, it's always about money, money, money. It's nothing but asking me for cash. I truly wonder, if there ever comes a day when I'm penniless and sleeping on the streets, would they even have the decency to offer me a scrap of food? I said, my voice flat and emotionless. Mom, for nearly 20 years straight, I paid every single utility bill for your house and my brother's, without fail, both before and after I got married. From now on, it's my brother's turn. Let him pay for you for 20 years. After that, you can come to me, and I won't refuse. My mom completely lost it when she heard that. You ungrateful little wretch. How dare you abandon your own parents? This is outrageous. You've gone too far. If you don't pay the utility bills by tonight, just wait until I see you tomorrow. I'll have your brother break both your legs. And listen, Mom, let me remind you one more time, I won't be here tomorrow, and the house won't be mine anymore. If you insist on bringing that whole family of strangers over and find the place empty, don't you dare blame me for it. After hanging up, I gave my husband a bitter smile. Let's leave it at that. We should go. When dawn breaks, clear skies will follow. It's something to look forward to, something to wait for. 9. After leaving the county town, I called the new homeowner from the passenger seat. I informed him that the house was vacated tonight and he could come to inspect it tomorrow. I also told him that I might have caused him some inconvenience and sincerely apologized. Then I said plainly, If anyone shows up at the door tomorrow making trouble, he shouldn't worry about sparing my feelings and should just send them away. When we showed up at my in-laws' door early in the morning, we gave them quite the surprise. They were flustered but delighted, scrambling to help us with our bags. They prepared a huge spread for breakfast, and we did end up eating rather late. My family back home started blowing up my phone with one call after another. I silenced it and ignored them all. I wasn't about to let them ruin the rare, peaceful atmosphere at the table. It wasn't until after 10 a.m. that the new homeowner called me again. That's when I found out what they'd really been up to. When no one answered the door after repeated knocks, my brother and Lynn DeBeo actually smashed it down. The whole gang barged in, ate, drank, and made a mess of the place, turning the once clean and tidy house into a complete pigsty. The new owner was furious and called the police on the spot. What else could I do? I just had to apologize to them over and over on the phone, and as I said before, just do what needs to be done. Don't worry about sparing my feelings. We only met that one time. What face do I have to save? It was just a pleasant business transaction. The new homeowner is a decent person. They didn't try to extort them or hold their mistake over their heads. They were only made to pay for the door and the basic damages, which came to a total of 20,000 yuan. Breaking and entering, along with property damage, can be a serious offense. If they refuse to pay, we'll have no choice but to arrest and detain them. Hearing the police say that, the parents were scared out of their wits, and the whole family had no choice but to agree to pay the compensation. As for Lynn DeBeo's girlfriend's family, it said they vanished without a trace right after giving their statements at the police station, swearing they never wanted anything to do with that family again. My brother and his wife finally had to accept the truth. I really did sell the house, and I vanished without a trace. When I stopped answering their calls, they started bombarding me with messages. They said I could run but I couldn't hide forever. They swore that after what I'd done to them, I'd better hope they never found me. They sounded like they were out for blood. At this moment, I'm truly grateful they've never been to my in-laws' place and don't know the address. My brother even demanded I hand over that 20,000, plus compensation for their emotional distress, ordering me to transfer him 100,000 immediately. This is my own family, the people supposedly closest to me in the world, my own flesh and blood. It's all a tangled mess, impossible to explain or justify. Dad, mom, brother, sister-in-law, blocked, every single one of them. I really, truly, just want a few years of peace and quiet. It wasn't until 3 years later, I got the news that my father had died. Honestly, 3 years of no contact. A full 3 years without seeing them. The sudden news of my father's passing left a deep, desolate ache in my heart. My father had always been in such robust health. It was my second uncle who broke the news. He even sent me a photo of the coffin. As if to prove it was true, my husband and I rushed back through the night. When my family saw me, it was as if they were seeing a new dawn. They were both overjoyed and moved to tears. My brother, dressed in mourning clothes, came jogging over to greet my husband and me. Little sister, you're back. It's been 3 years. Your big brother truly knows he was wrong. Please forgive me. My sister-in-law also wore an ingratiating expression. You're right, little sister. This family truly can't manage without you. I admit I was in the wrong before. Now that you're back, won't you please stay for good? Lynn DeBeo had always been somewhat fair-skinned and gentle-looking. Now, to everyone's surprise, he had become a dark, shriveled ball of a man, both swarthy and gaunt. Wah, auntie, you're finally back. If you hadn't come home soon, I'm afraid I would have been the next one worked to death. I only found out later that after I cut ties with them, there was no one to cover the household expenses. My sister-in-law forced my parents, who were already retired from farming, to take on an extra 100 acres of land. Working day and night in the fields, my parents' health, though once robust, couldn't hold up under the strain at their age. They were completely worn out. My father was out there night after night, irrigating the fields, going without food or sleep. One moment, he just collapsed right there in the field and never woke up. Even Lynn DeBeo was dragged by my brother to work on the construction site, pulling double shifts to cover his share of the labor. My father never showed me a moment's affection growing up, but with his passing, all grievances are laid to rest. Though I cannot bring myself to weep, my face is etched with sorrow. I have returned. The funeral expenses and all related costs will, of course, be covered by me. I accept this duty. After all, I owe him my very life. Consider this my final act of filial piety. My brother and sister-in-law were beaming with joy. They didn't have to worry about the funeral expenses. But all the condolence money from the entire village would end up in their pockets. All they had to do was collect the cash, making a tidy profit right off the bat. They greeted everyone with wide, uncontainable grins, turning the solemn funeral into a downright celebration. My mother's hair was streaked with white, with barely a few black strands left. She had aged terribly. I still remember, just 3 years ago, her hair was jet black and shiny, with hardly a single gray strand. Daughter, you're my own flesh and blood, you can't abandon me. Your father is gone, and your brother and his wife are going to be the death of me. Take me with you, please. I can't stand living with your brother and his wife anymore. I see it clearly now. You're the only one who's truly a good daughter to me. I didn't raise you for nothing. You're the truly filial child, the real freeloader. The ungrateful wretch is your brother. He's the one who's a curse. How did I ever give birth to such a curse? Take me away, just take me with you. I'm sorry, Mom, but I won't be taking you with me, because, just like Dad, you never showed me a shred of affection growing up. In fact, you wore me down and put me down even more than he did. From the age of 3, you made me fetch the foot-washing water for the whole family every single night and wash their smelly socks. Even the night before my wedding, you were still ordering me to wait on you, wash your feet, and lecturing me that after marriage I should do even more to support my birth family, be filial to my parents, and repay the debt of being raised. You started training me to cook when I was 7, and from then on, I was the one who cooked for the entire family, day in and day out, year after year. At 15, I scored first in my class and in the top 10 of the entire county on the high school entrance exam, yet you forced me to drop out. High school teachers and principals came in waves to persuade you. But you either chased them away or cursed them out. You wouldn't even agree when they offered to waive half my tuition, and you even refused when a kind teacher offered to sponsor my education entirely, simply because you were afraid that if I studied too well, I'd fly away and wouldn't be around to serve you in your old age. You already had my brother. The whole point of having me was for this duty, so there was no way you'd agree to let me continue my education. These were your own words to me later on. Such short-sightedness is utterly laughable. If I really do well in my studies and make something of myself in the future, I will definitely bring you to the city and take good care of you. Wouldn't that be a much better life and blessing for your later years? I'm only 15, still a minor. No one would dare hire me to work. You rented 50 acres of land, all for my sake. From then on, under the blazing sun, I, a skinny girl, toiled alone in the fields, drenched in sweat, while you and Dad rested peacefully on the heated brick bed, sleeping from noon until dusk. Finally, when I was old enough to leave home for work, you started demanding my wages every single month, terrified I might shortchange you by even a single cent. Thankfully, I had the sense to secretly set aside a little money for myself. That's how I later managed to rent a small, out-of-the-way shop and start a local delivery service, launching my own entrepreneurial journey. You could say that even the brick house built for my brother's wedding, at least 70 or 80% of it, was paid for with money I earned. In my youth, I too had lofty ambitions and grand aspirations. I could have had a much brighter future. You destroyed it all. My husband pulled me close to whisper, "Why don't we just take Mom with us? It's not like we can't afford it. If it really comes to it, we can hire a live-in caregiver to look after her around the clock." I stopped my husband. "Don't worry about it, dear, I have a plan." Taking advantage of the somber funeral atmosphere, I forced out a few tears. "Mom, seeing you like this, I really want to take you with me, but do you think I've had it easy these years at my in-laws' place? My little online shop went under ages ago. I don't have a degree. I can't even find a job in the city, so I have to rely on my husband to support me. My in-laws looked down on me so much, he was terrified I'd run out of money. Practically shoving cash at me every single day, every month. He counts out every last penny for my allowance, and then he's constantly checking the accounts with me, complaining I'm a freeloader. He'd love nothing more than to kick me out. They're so afraid I'll be mistreated far from home, they practically want to put me on a pedestal. If I take you back with me this time, my in-laws will see you. They'd probably make my husband divorce me on the spot. And we'd both be thrown out on the street. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, for using you as an excuse. I promise I'll be an even more devoted and filial daughter-in-law from now on. It's my way of repaying you and filling that fragile, empty space in my heart from growing up without a mother's or father's love. By then, I'll be a middle-aged woman, and you'll be an old lady, with no income and the high rent in the city. We'll probably end up scavenging for scraps and sleeping under bridges." My mom was completely stunned when she heard this. "What? I can't believe your in-laws are like that too." I couldn't handle scavenging. and my body couldn't take sleeping under a bridge. I'd freeze to death in one night once it gets cold. Exactly, Mom, you should be enjoying your retirement now. And I can't just abandon you. Here's what I'll do. When I get back, I'll scrimp and save from my living expenses. Even if I have to go without food myself, I'll secretly squeeze out some money for your retirement fund. 8,000 a year is the absolute most I can do. Any more and I'm finished if my in-laws find out. Mom, with 8,000 in the countryside, plus a bit of township elderly subsidy, she can live quite comfortably on her own. My mother's trembling hands grasped both of mine. All right, dear, it's settled then. You're 100 times more filial than your brother. But don't you dare tell your brother and his wife about this money. Transfer it quietly to my own bank account. Okay, I nodded emphatically. Don't worry, Mom, your father already worked himself to death. If your brother and his wife try to force this old bag of bones to work the fields again, I'll go to the township and report them for elder abuse. That's right, Mom, you do just that. I'm all for it. I support her wholeheartedly. The past 3 years with my in-laws have been incredibly happy, with the whole family living in harmony. I absolutely cannot let my mother go over there and mess everything up. It's true, I closed my online shop half a year ago. My husband was promoted to a key position 6 months ago. His role comes with strict regulations, which prohibit family members from engaging in business. Even if it's just a small online shop, I can't risk jeopardizing his career prospects. My mother-in-law knew about the gaps in my education. With her extensive connections, she arranged for a top-tier private tutor for one-on-one sessions as soon as we returned to Jusher. With that help, I managed to self-study and earn an associate degree, better late than never, and I'm quite pleased with the achievement. I used to think that the opportunity to learn only came once, and if you missed it, it was gone for good, but my mother-in-law said that as long as you want to study and better yourself, it's never too late. Even in your 70s or 80s, you can still attend a university for seniors. Besides, you're only in your 30s, a wonderful age where your mind is mature yet your body is still young. Back then, I was studying on my own to prepare for the postgraduate entrance exams. Seeing me burning the midnight oil night after night, my husband teased me. My wife is such a hard worker. Since you're already going for a master's, why don't we just go ahead and get the PhD too? I believe in you, but when that time comes, my own degree will look pretty humble next to yours. You'd better not look down on me. How could I ever look down on you? I've been pushing myself to the limit, trying to catch up to you. You are my pride, my role model, the standard I will strive to meet for the rest of my life. I'm working hard to